Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 55. He's Dave Bryan, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, I wish I had some better news, but the Pittsburgh Steelers will not be AFC North champs this year with the Ravens' Thursday night win over the hapless Jets. The Ravens are now the AFC North champions.
Second consecutive year in a row, and sixth time since the realignment happened back in 2002. So I gotta admit, Alex, I didn't see this Ravens team being as good as they are this year. And look, I don't say what you will about their defense. Their defense is fine. I think I was right in the defensive aspect that they're not as good defensively, but the way they jump on teams offensively in games, it makes their defense even better because they get opposing offenses out of mostly out of what they're trying to do, and you playing with a lead like that, it sure makes it feel like you're playing downhill at times. But I question that offense as well too with Lamar Jackson and all. But I mean, you gotta. As much as you hate to do it, you got to take your hat off and hand it to them. That Lamar Jackson's something, man. And I thought he was I didn't think he would be this effective at what he's doing in the style of offense that he's doing it in way back, when he was drafted. The kid threw completed 15 passes against the Jets, and 5 of them. A third of your completed passes going for touchdowns. Obviously, the way they mix up running the football out of really kind of the same personnel groupings it's impressive. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And those poor defenders on the other side, it seems like they're playing a guessing game. Mm-hmm. And when they lose, they get gashed for 20 yards. That kind of thing. So I know this isn't the Ravens Depot podcast, but man, they are going to be a tough out in the playoffs, and obviously now they have the AFC North locked up. They can, it seems all but certain they'll lock up the number 1 seed here, soon. Obviously they could lock, there is a scenario out there that they could lock up this number 1 seed this weekend. If the Patriots mm-hmm. lose to the Bengals, and if the Chiefs tie or lose to the Broncos, then the Ravens will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And if that doesn't happen, all they have to do is beat the Browns next Sunday, and they'll have the number 1 seed all locked up.
Right. And that means, according to Ian Rappaport yesterday, and it's pretty obvious that assuming they have nothing to play for Week 17, they are expected to rest at least some starters, including Lamar Jackson. That would mean that RG3 is going to get this start. So for Steeler fans, to make it more relevant than just celebrating the Ravens, that means the Steelers may have a more favorable matchup in Week 17 that is probably likely to mean a lot more to Pittsburgh than it will Baltimore.
Well, here's the thing we can hope for. Maybe it'll be meaningless to the Steelers as well. Obviously a couple of things need to break their way. Starts with them.
They would have to win this weekend for that game to even potentially be meaningless.
Sure, they have to win on Sunday against the Bills, and then obviously I think you probably have to beat the Jets the following week as well too. Mm. And if you do that, and a couple of the other games go their way these next 2 weeks, then. I mean, it would be kind of nice to have a mini bye, if you will, before starting the wild card round. But, look, the biggest concern right now is obviously them getting in, and there's no guarantee of that right now. And they can obviously increase their chances quite aggressively if they beat the Bills on Sunday night.
Yeah, my guess is that this game's still going to mean something for Pittsburgh whenever the time comes week 17. It won't mean anything from Baltimore. And again, the report is that the Ravens will sit their starters, or at least again Lamar Jackson, and I assume other key players as well. And that'll be good news for Pittsburgh. So that's the report there. We'll keep you updated whenever the time comes. Two more relevant and immediate information. Unfortunately, I'm the bearer of bad news today, Dave. JuJu Smith-Schuster reportedly is going to miss Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills. Was practicing in a full on Wednesday, but left practice early yesterday after aggravating that left knee injury that's plagued him for the last 3 weeks. So looks very unlikely that Juju's going to suit up Sunday night against Buffalo.
Just goes to show you never know, do you?
Yep.
These things will start off with a positive kind of narrative, if you will, to them when you start the week here, and thinking you're going to get both JuJu and Connor back, and then lo and behold, here we are. I got to be honest with you, Alex. To kind of listen to some things and his demeanor and all. The last couple of days, I'm beginning to wonder if Connor's going to make it back this week as well.
Really? What's he been saying? I haven't paid attention.
Just kind of strength in it and blah blah blah. Obviously I want to be out there sooner than later. I don't have the full transcript and all in front of me, but there is a little bit of doubt. In my mind, even though he's practiced full the last couple of days, we've said it for the last week or so. If he what percentage? I know he wants to get out there. I know there's the proven performance escalator out there and all like that. Yeah. But look, I mean, if you're not gonna, if you don't think you're gonna be the player that you need to be or usually are, then you probably don't need to be out there. And I just got to, and just going off kind of context is all, just speculation. I'm not convinced he's back to or has confidence back in that shoulder yet.
That's a fair point. It's hard to say. He has been practicing in full, but you're right. It's going to come down to a pain tolerance thing and a strength and a range of motion thing, which you can probably get away with in practice, but you really can't get away with in the game, especially against this tough physical Buffalo Bills defense. So we'll see on that. Final injury report will come out a little bit later today. I'll run through the rest of the injury report. If Connor does not go and that kind of suspicion rings true, Dave, Jalen Samuels does seem like he is going to play this week, or at least be available to play this week with a groin injury. Says he's going to be able to practice. He has practiced in full and has declared himself good to go for Sunday. Vance McDonald working through protocol. He was limited, so there's still a chance for him. Again, we'll get the final injury report on Friday and see where he's at. Ramon Foster got a day off yesterday. Johnny Holton with an illness. Both those guys are going to be available for Sunday. So overall, some good, some bad. Connor looks to be on the right track, but I hear what you're saying. McDonald seems to be still up in the air, and JuJu unfortunately has gone in the wrong direction.
If Connor and look, when McDonald in that concussion protocol, who knows, right? I mean, the way they've kind of handled these concussions lately makes you kind of almost expect them to let him sit, right?
Well, I mean, the fact that he's working limited means I think he's a stage away from being cleared out of the protocol. You got to go limited, then you got to go full, and see how your body is after exertion. So it's a toss-up for me.
Obviously, if both Connor and JuJu sit, that doesn't change your inactive list the way it's been the last few weeks here. But even if let's say McDonald's up clear to go, are you going to dress Gentry?
Probably not. If he's cleared, he's cleared. I mean, they rolled with two whenever everyone's been deemed healthy, so I don't think that's going to change.
And look, if Connor dresses, who sits down?
That's a good question. I was thinking about poor Trey Edmonds might get short end of the stick on the week with all their brothers playing against each other.
Isn't he been playing a pretty decent amount of snaps though on special teams though?
He has, but so has Samuels. I mean, and you could sit Kareth White, but I think he's just the more valuable asset on offense, and you could probably replace Edmonds in some of those spots. I mean, it's possible he stays up because you're right. He is a wing on punt, and I think he might run down kicks, and he's on the kick return team as a blocker. So, I mean, you can make a case for him, but if he's inactive, I'm not going to go, oh, no, special teams is going to be in trouble.
I'm going to predict that my inactive list prediction won't be out until a little bit later
Yeah.
on Saturday here, because they could have. Look, we'll just keep our fingers crossed with what comes out Friday afternoon in regard to obviously McDonald and Connor and JuJu. Even though the early report as you opened with on JuJu this morning is not positive. Boy, he's still. I mean, look, I know he's doing a lot of appearances and promotions and all like that, and I know he was photographed at doing something hockey related more than 24 hours ago. This guy, the guy's catching a lot of flack for it, but I don't think he should.
Yeah, I don't care about that. He can still live his life. It's a knee injury. Why can't he go out there in public? So that's the unfortunate criticism that comes with athletes and celebrities. It's still his life. He doesn't have to sit at home and do nothing because he's hurt.
And obviously, if he had negligence, doing something hockey related or something like that, that's one thing. But
Sure.
As of right now, there's no proof of that. I mean, he can do these Pizza Hut commercials and do this Twitch. I mean, everybody, he's under the microscope because he's not playing. You probably don't bat an eye at this if he's playing and catching 5 balls a game for 100 yards.
Sure. Sure.
But I mean, I don't see anything wrong with him. Doing the whole Twitch thing. What is that Twitch? What people get on there and watch each other game? Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, you should join. Dave, you should stream something. What game would you stream? What game do you play?
Do they still make Pitfall?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh,
so I'm guessing
Lord. Do you know what
Atari?
Do you know what Atari is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, back when, not long after Atari came out, kind of a rival cartridge maker, if you will, started making games for it. And back then they were I don't know, I guess you'd call that 8-bit or whatever. But they were kind of crude. But they had this game called Pitfall, where you'll just have to. You could probably still probably find an emulated game of that online and all like that. But I used to sit for hours and hours and hours and play that. So
that was Atari. That was an Atari game.
No, it was an Atari game. It was made by Activision, a company called Activision.
Yeah, they're still around.
And obviously, Asteroids. I remember used to going up to the arcade. You got to remember now, my uncle used to carry me all over the place, unbeknownst to my mom. Sometimes my mom be at work or whatnot. My uncle would carry me everywhere. 6, 7, 8 years old. And so I spent a lot of time in pool halls as a young kid, and when you had those kind of sit down games come in, that was the big thing back then. Once you had those kind of sit down games where you put the quarters in, you get inside and you can actually sit down while playing them. And then they had Asteroids was the big one. I don't know if you've ever played Asteroids before. You probably haven't, but that was a big one back in the day there. So and obviously spent a lot of time on the pinball machine and playing pool at an early age. And that kind of thing, but those are stories for post terrible podcasts.
But you don't have a side in Team Xbox versus Team PlayStation?
No, I never look. I mean, once once I was old enough to start working, I had to work.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I went right from my adolescence went into one day you're playing games in an arcade, next day you're working 50 hours at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, good stuff there. To go back to JuJu,
it wasn't at the time, but I don't know. Look, I had a misplaced youth, troubled youth, and all like that. But obviously, some experiences were good along the way that brings back good memories.
Yeah, all's well that ends well. But to go back to JuJu, obviously, it'd be a big bummer if he misses Sunday, which presumably he will. But this team's been winning games without him. You have Deontay Johnson stepping up, James Washington. I think both those guys are really hitting their stride. Johnson coming off the best game of his career. Washington's been playing great over the last 5 weeks or so. Really, after the bye, he's kind of turned it on. So this offense can still function and still produce even without JuJu.
Yeah, and I put this on Twitter this morning. If there is a silver lining a positive to all this right now. It's that they have won 3 games without those two, and they've done it with Devlin Hodges at quarterback. So, can he win a 4th in a row? I mean, if he does, they might have to name a street after him.
I will say, though, this will be the toughest secondary they faced over that span, and that's why I really wanted the JuJu to come back, because the Bills have a much better secondary than the Browns, who were depleted by injuries, the Bengals, certainly the Cardinals, and so this will be a much stingier defense. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the show.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave, moving off the injury report to the other big news of the yesterday, and I swear we could just write, and I told you this in a message, we could just write Landry Jones in the title of an article, have nothing else included in the body of it, and it would be a top red article of the day. But the news was that the Steelers tried to sign back Landry Jones after Ben Roethlisberger suffered his season-ending injury, but because Jones was already under contract with the XFL and the clauses in their contracts denied the Steelers' ability to sign him, so Steelers were essentially blocked from being able to sign Landry Jones, and that, I guess, is in a sense, is probably a blessing in disguise, because it ultimately led them to duck. So that was the big news of the day, and I think everybody is now Vince McMahon and XFL fans.
You see something like that, and makes it feel like it's kind of destiny, right? With this thing, and how long have I said now? Wasn't too terribly long. Well, during the once they lost Coach Drake and all like that, this is going to make one hell of a movie. And
right.
Obviously, you still got a long way to go here, but can you imagine? I don't think it is maybe hard to imagine that after Ben Roethlisberger went down, at that time they'd already just dealt away the week before Joshua Dobbs to Jacksonville. So I don't think it's hard to imagine that they reached out wanting to try to sign Landry to be the backup to Mason Rudolph. And then I still think that there was probably a good shot that Devlin Hodges would have been back on the practice squad at that point. But there was probably a good chance that is the way that they intended to go. I mean, look, you got the commissioner. I mean, why would you think that what Oliver Luck, the commissioner of XFL, I don't think he'd put that out there if it wasn't true.
No, it's 100% true. Yeah, to be clear, the source is not an anonymous, unnamed source. It's the XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck, who said, quote, "This happened to Landry Jones. Ben Roethlisberger got hurt, and Landry had backed up Ben for years. First phone call was, can Landry come to the Steelers? Nope, sorry, he's ours. We signed him." Luck is quoted as saying. Duck, I think, was already on the practice squad because he got signed right after Dobbs got dealt. So I think Dobbs would have stuck, but was still already there even before Ben went down. But obviously, would he be in the position he is today starting? Probably not. So, again, blessing in disguise.
I'll have to look back at the dates on when that all transpired there.
Because I remember Hodges saying he was at the stadium whenever Ben got hurt. He actually left at halftime to go get stuff for his apartment, and that's when he got the news that Ben was hurt, and he was like, oh, this might change things. I might stick around for a little bit. So I think Hodges, 99% sure he was with the team on the practice squad before Ben got hurt.
They traded Dobbs on the
Monday, right after
9th of September, and then the next day on the 10th, Hodges was signed to the practice squad, and then Ben was hurt that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And because I remember writing up, strange for them to go into a game with 2 quarterbacks.
Right.
And just 2 on the 53, I should say.
And then Ben goes down.
And then Ben goes down, and then they waited until the Friday or the next Saturday ahead of their Week 3 game to promote Devlin to the 53.
Mm-hmm. So Hodges would have been part of the team, but obviously would he be in the position he is today starting? Again, probably not. It would have been Jones versus Rudolph. I'm guessing Rudolph still would have started. Jones would have been the mentor, the backup, and would have replaced Rudolph whenever he faltered. Yeah,
it kind of blows your mind, right?
Right.
Hey, I wonder what Landry Jones was thinking throughout this whole thing, knowing that he had a potential to one last maybe hurrah in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. But he's stuck with the XFL with the Dallas Renegades. Also a minor note, but Luck said the Steelers tried to sign quarterback Philip Walker before the Ravens game to be the scout team quarterback for Lamar Jackson. Again, blocked to do that. So Steelers signed Taron Christensen. So that's the way the XFL's rules work, and in a way, thank goodness for that, because without those rules, probably not seeing the legend of Duck Hodges.
And that signing of Christensen worked out pretty decent as well too. He evidently gave him a good enough look that there's one team that's had success against Lamar Jackson defensively this year, and that's the Steelers. Now obviously that Ravens team's probably not they probably evolved quite a bit, or it looks like they have offensively to some degree since then. But Christensen gave him a good look that week.
He did, and Hodges has given the Steelers a lot of good looks now. So again, all's well that ends well. But that was the big story of the day yesterday. I mean, literally, that story just blew up for us. I mean, my timeline was just full of people like, "Wow, thanks XFL, Vince McMahon, my favorite commissioner." What do you think about that league? Is that league starting next year?
I'll watch it because because it'll be on. But it makes you wonder without the full support of the NFL. That's why I think that NFL Europe was able to thrive as long as it did, which really overall wasn't very long. But I think if a new NFL Europe came back, it would probably do pretty good now.
Yeah.
Now that the game's been more, heavily introduced overseas and all like that, you just wonder if there's going to be, enough viewership for them, and if the TV package isn't there, then the league's not going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's hard for any of these leagues to exist without the NFL's financial backing. That's what has doomed essentially every single league. I mean, you saw AAF, the Arena League, which is around forever. AFL just folded a couple weeks ago. We'll see. I mean, good luck to the XFL. If it's something new that can be exciting for fans, that has a new spin on the game, cool. But just hard to see them having any sort of long-term stability or success. All right, Dave, new topic here. You talked about Bud Dupree having an interview yesterday. I think I missed some of his quotes. So what did Bud Dupree say that caught your eye?
They due to his contract situation and all, he's obviously asked a little bit about that, and obviously his phenomenal season that he's having on top of it and all. So a lot of the questions centered around that. Nothing concrete. He obviously doesn't know what's going to happen with him. After the season's over with. He did say they never tried to extend me, talking about this past offseason. My agent was trying to prepare for it, but it never happened. I just sort of bet on myself. Well, you didn't you were kind of forced to bet on yourself unless we're missing something in the middle in there, Is it hard to believe, that they didn't offer him anything?
No, it's not hard to believe. I would have been more surprised if they tried to extend him.
And moving on, talking about, he's asked about his potential free agency status after the season. He says, I know a lot of people have to get paid. James Conner has to get paid. They might have to rip up TJ, rip TJ up pretty soon, because if he wins Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think they'll want him going back years on his contract to have to pay him $200 million. You got JuJu, you got Javon. There are a lot of guys. There's a lot of money that's on the table, and a lot of guys that can be paid at this moment. And he is correct there. They're going to have to. I mean, he didn't mention Cameron Hayward. He didn't mention maybe Alejandro Villanueva. So as usual, there are going to be a lot of hands out during the off season. At one point, he was obviously approached with a question along the lines of, what happens if the Steelers do franchise tag you or transition tag you? He said, look, just come to work and hopefully work something out in the meantime. I feel like that's something you can work out while you're here rather than not sign the deal at all. So we talked, I think just briefly mentioned it in passing, said, what happens if he were to pull, Le'Veon Bell or something like that? I think he's at least, or has put it out there now that he's not running a risk of not signing, not signing the tag and all. Now he might wait a little bit before he run upstairs and signs it.
Sure.
But come crunch time, start his training camp and all like that, I would expect he would have had that that tender signed, sealed, and delivered should he indeed receive it. He went on to say, yeah, definitely it would be fun to come back. Just being back with Ben and seeing how the defense would play with him, the whole offense together, just see how special it can be. But I know it's a business. It is indeed a business. So, look, we'll talk about this every week from here on out. It's gonna be tough, and our buddy Joel Corey from CBS Sports wrote up an article about the players most likely to get franchise tagged and transition tagged during the upcoming offseason, and he put Bud in the transition tag. I think he had 2 players in the transition tag category there. Bud was one of them. Now, look, for those that don't understand how the transition tag work, a transition tag comes with a slightly lower price tag than the franchise tag, roughly around a $2 million difference in there. And by the way, Joel Corey is, based on the new expected cap number to be right around that $200 million mark in 2020. He expects the transition tag amount for linebackers to be $13.826 million, and the exclusive franchise tag number on linebackers to be just shy of $16 million, $15.973 million. So you got a difference of like 2.1 something, 2.6 or something like that.
It's the top 10 is the position as a transition tag, right? In franchise's top 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe that's correct.
The top 10 average yearly salaries creates a transition tag.
Yeah,
right.
been a while since I looked at that. Let's see. The non-exclusive franchise tags have been an average of the 5 largest salaries at the position in the prior year at a player's position, or 120% of the prior year's salary of the player, whichever is greater. And then where is it? Transition tag here. Let's see, not exclusive for French. I don't think he's got the transition tag listed in here, so I'm gonna have to look that up. But I think you're on it there.
Okay, but anyway, so yeah, Dupree with a transition tag. I mean, is that realistic? I know we've kind of talked on that before. I mean, that would be just a very loose way of trying to just extend out the contract talks, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
and look, and that's where I was going with this. The transition tag, man, is ultra flimsy because the player, can still negotiate, obviously still negotiate with other teams. And if he signs an offer sheet with another team, the Steelers, you get a right of first refusal there. So if another, and all it takes is one, there's no more what they call poison pills or whatnot, that make it impossible for teams to match certain things. But regardless, even without the poison pills, being allowed anymore, teams can still structure. They know your cap situation. They can still do things that make it ultra tough for you to match a deal, and heck, they might pay him more, higher, more than what you're ready to pay anyway. So if you're going to use a transition tag on a player, you really should do it knowing that whatever he gets, you're going to match. Because if not, then you lose that player for no compensation whatsoever. And people were saying, well, Dave, okay, well, that's fine. At least they'd still get compensatory draft pick value on that. Oh, not so fast. No, if you read some of the past work by Nick Corte of Over the Cap, and he's great when it comes to compensatory draft pick projections and all like that. There was there used to be a rule that teams would qualify for compensatory draft pick value if they lost a player via a non-match transition tag offer sheet. That's no longer the case according to him. So not only do you lose the player, but everything else you lose as well. Any sort of compensation on top of it. So that makes it extremely hard to imagine that the Steelers, just to save $2 million, would go that route with running the risk of receiving zero compensation. You want to talk about pinching pennies? That's pinching pennies to the nth degree, if you will. So I have a hard time imagining that the Steelers would use a transition tag on Bud Dupree. If they tag him at all, be the franchise tag, and then. I still think, there is an opportunity for them to sign him after the season ends to whatever they need to sign him to avoid using the tag. Personally, I'll be surprised if they do it. And quite honestly, I'm not, I wouldn't be upset if they did franchise Bud Dupree. I just right now where they look from a cap perspective, and as Bud Dupree, smartly mentions, they've got a lot of work to do during the offseason potential with other guys. I don't think giving Bud Dupree the franchise tag is a slam dunk.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it's a possibility, but the point with the franchise tag is there's no. Well, tell me if I'm wrong. There's no way the team could put the franchise tag on Bud Dupree and then not do a long-term deal to reduce that number. Is that accurate?
No, you can never say never. I mean,
realistically, most likely, because the tag is what? How much? 16 million?
Almost 16 million, right?
Right. It's almost unfathomable to believe the Steelers can be able to deal with a 16 million 1-year cap hit on a franchise tag based on their current cap situation, all the other obligations they have to fulfill.
Well, I mean, are you saying can they work around it?
I'm saying can they still do everything they need to do and have Bud Dupree with a monster $16 million cap hit in 1 year?
Man,
will they even have the cap space for that?
Well, look, once you put that tag on him anyway, you're going to have to afford it for however long period of time,
right? Until
you can get other things done. But even ahead of them putting that tag on him, you would, it's going to be. You would think that there's going to have to obviously be a couple of cuts or two. Pre-start of the new league year in March, maybe a restructure or two, on top of it. I mean, you could fit him in just to tag alone. You could move you could massage it enough to make the initial hit work.
But I'm saying over the course of an entire season, you probably couldn't make it work.
Well, obviously, you would hope that you could work on getting him signed to a long-term deal at some point during the offseason.
Right.
To obviously lower that cap number and B, lock up the player because
sure.
that's because you obviously want the player,
But my point is just basically, you might put the tag on him just to keep control of him, but you really have to do a long-term deal. So you can tag him and that's fine, but your goal is going to be the same way, doing a long-term deal. So you might as well just start with that framework and do everything you can to do a long-term deal before free agency begins.
Sure, and it's not impossible for that, to happen. It's just it just seems so unlikely. I mean, because he's itching to know his market value and all as well too, which I think
right.
Look, if he gets a handful more of sacks, that meter's running right now, man.
Yeah,
and I know the tag is 16 million. I really project his bottom number right now at 18 million.
So what would be the framework of a long-term deal for Pittsburgh or any team? A 4 or 5 year deal at $18 million? What would be the total numbers on that?
I think maybe 5 or 6 years, obviously. With
Are you looking $90 million?
With at least a bottom, let's say it's 5 at 18, he might command a little bit more than that, Alex.
So we're getting close to $100 million.
I don't
What did
think
Zadarius Smith get last year? He got a 4-year, $66 million deal. But Bud's probably going to get more than that.
Yeah, inflation happens, right?
Yeah.
And let me roll down some of these. Look, 23.5 is Khalil Mack with edge rushers. That might be a little rich when it comes to him. But, Trey Flowers cashed in at 18. Zadarius cashed in at 16.5. Bud's going to be a top 5, easily a top 5, and you would think top 3 maybe,
Oh, how many years did Trey Flowers get?
What did Trey? I thought it was 5 or 6 on that. Signed a 5-year, $90 million.
Okay. That might be what Bud's going to be shooting for, right a little above that. Because I think Flowers had a pretty similar season. Well, actually, his sack numbers weren't as high. He still got paid.
If I'm Bud, I'm looking at $20 million. That's what my goal is. Now what,
So we're talking $100 million then. We're talking basically 5 years, $100 million.
Right.
Just in terms of overall framework.
Right.
Wow.
I think
TJ.
And look, I mean, there's no guarantee. Now we can get into the whole aspect of is now the time to do TJ, because you can look at it. Well, the Steelers never extend players more than non-franchise quarterbacks more than a year out. Well, now we're going to get into semantics here. Does he have 1 year left or 2 years? I mean,
because of the fifth-year option.
Because of the fifth-year option. Technically, right now, he's only under contract through the 2020 season. Right. But before this next season starts, they have to make the decision on the fifth-year option, and obviously, they're going to pick that up. So once that if this guy wins Defensive Player of the Year, and look, I know the draft and rookie pools and all like that are set up to kind of help teams out here. But are you going to expect him to play on? Let's see, he's set to earn in 2020 $1.727 million. I mean, where is that fine line at? And I know people listen to this and no, you don't pay him until you have to pay him. Okay, yeah. I get that. Look, anybody knows me and me studying the cap. I get it. Okay,
yeah, but Dave's driving a hunk of junk truck over there, so he knows about pinching pennies a little bit.
But I mean, when do you make the decision on him with the meter running? Because already you're probably looking at him. I mean, if you did a deal with him this offseason, I mean, it's not hard to imagine $25 million, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's in the 20s. It starts with a 2. That second number is going to be 22 to 25. And the longer you wait, the more expensive he's going to get because his play is going to be good and the market's going to keep climbing higher and higher.
Or you could go into it and say, well, what's the new CBA going to look like? Is there going to be a cap? Everything's generally usually relative, right? With salary increases and cap increases and stuff like that. But man, the sooner that you can lock them up, I would think the better, because you might even be able to tack on another contract on the back of that, down the line as well too. So obviously I don't think it's a guarantee that happens, but man, can you really what? Not that I don't think he would hold out or anything like that, but what's he going to think being asked to play for $1.7 million after maybe potentially winning defensive Player of the Year?
Right. There's no good argument against not paying him other than you're under contract. We want you to be cheap for another year.
Right, and then he's running injury risk and all. Obviously he'll have insurance and all in place for that. So it's just one other layer of the onion that I think you got to consider. And once again, I'm not convinced that they get something done with TJ, but if you don't get it done with Bud,
Yeah, they don't get it done with Dupree, then they're going to get it done with Watt. I think that would be the difficulty in not doing Watt would be if you get it done with Dupree, now you're paying both your outside linebackers, even if the cap is going to be lower in year one, you're still paying them a ton of money.
It's just, look, I mean, you'd like to have, you obviously, the way Bud Dupree's playing right now, you'd like to have him back, Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that they could, or I should say how, because it's always possible, how likely is it that Dupree and Watt get long-term deals from the Steelers this offseason?
Man, it's going to be so tough, Alex. I mean, because, Watt's cap number right now for 2020 is 2.9. It's going to be hard. You give him a mega deal, that's going to that cap number is going to increase some. And then you got guys like, are you going to extend Hayward?
That's probably going to lower the cap hit a bit, wouldn't it?
Slightly, maybe. You got that 30% rule that you're playing with in here too. That makes it. If you save anything, you're not going to save much. With Hayward. If anything, maybe you could keep his cap number the same.
Okay.
As
you just start running out of money on this thing.
Yeah,
that's about JuJu, and Hilton's going to get a tender, which will eat up a little bit of space. I mean, it's.
I know, people get. I know you've kind of said, well, look, they need to try to find a way. And look, I get it. You want to try to keep all these guys. I mean, you want to try to keep all the good players that you can, but it just makes it so tough right now, especially with the way their cap situation's looking like. And people say, well, Dave, that $3 million that they have left over from this year that they roll over, have you already accounted for that? Yeah, that's in my last projection that I did at the end of October. I already accounted for them having roughly $3 million left over. I've already accounted for a lot of the little things. I've accounted for Dante already being gone. I've accounted for Mark Barron being gone. I've accounted for Chicolo being gone. You and I have already said, what's going to happen with the Lulu and Foster? You obviously would like to try to keep those players around. They're not killing you on an individual cap number scenario. It's just it's a sum of the pieces. And obviously with Ben, do you try to get whatever whatever you can out of a quick restructure with him? This year, which isn't overall much. Is there anybody else? I mean, there's not many at the top of the food chain here that really you can restructure, and with the 30% rule and all like that, that's going to make you save. I mean, you could do it. I mean, you can massage every inch of it that you can and make Bud work. But man, it's just going to be so tough.
Yeah, it will be. I know those are conversations we're going to have a lot more later on in the offseason as opposed to right now in the regular season. But good framework there. And I think Dupree understands the financial situation, and I know that you do too, so we'll keep talking about it. Again, I mean, I want to get Dupree done. I understand the cap situation. I'm not blind to that money's going to be a factor and just how you make it all work. But you just look at the play and the talent, and it just would be a real tough pill to swallow to see him playing for somebody else next year.
And if Bud had done anything more prior to this season, maybe they would have went to him and got him at a more reasonable price this past off season there. But it was, let's admit it. Or at least I will. I'm shocked at what I'm seeing out of Bud Dupree this year. I mean, shocked.
To this level, sure, and we would have killed him if they did an extension with Dupree before this year.
I mean, even you said maybe they shouldn't even pay him at $9 million.
Right? I was against it, and I was wrong about that. I was wrong about that.
And you've been in his corner defending him. With saying, well, maybe he's not playing that well because of a few injuries here. But I didn't see it coming.
No. It's funny how cheap that $9.2 million number looks this year compared to 5 months ago when I was going, oh, that's expensive. I don't know about that one. Now it's like, wow, that's so cheap for Dupree.
Yeah, everybody, boy, what a piss poor decision that was. $9 million wasted. And all like that. I mean, that guy looks like. Looks like they owe him another $9 million this year.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting when you look at some of these. When you start going through the list here and you start having discussions about a few of these players here, Vince Williams. I mean, individually, his let's see. Well, he's had a restructure in there as well too. I think $7 million cap number. Well, it's not his fault. His cap number is $7 million. Okay, his base salary is $4 million, and there's been some extra tacked on to that because of restructure, I believe. So you got to look at these players not at their cap number, but what their base salary is. And he's set to earn $4 million next year. Is that going to kill you on an individual standpoint? No, but you might have to if you're wanting Bud Dupree bad enough, you're going to have to make some cuts somewhere. And but Mark Barron's obviously an easy cut. Or easier than most. Who else? Chicolo gone. I mean, no two ways about that. And then we get back into the conversations that we've had, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago. Foster, Alualu. Those guys don't kill you. $4 million base salary for Ramon Foster, $2.75 million base salary for Alualu. Alejandro Villanueva is definitely not killing you at $5 million. Steven Nelson, the season he's having, you're not going to cut him loose after 1-1, right?
Oh yeah, no way.
People say, well, just cut Stephon Tuitt. He can't stay healthy. You will lose money against the cap if you cut Stephon Tuitt. All right, because of past restructures and all. Now his dead money number would be higher than what his actual scheduled cap number is in 2020. So you can forget about Tuitt, and doing that. People say, what about Ben? No, you ain't cutting Ben. So once again, we're going to be having this. What are you doing with Vance McDonald right now? You got that kind of that option date out there, if you will, early in March. I mean, you can cut a cool, almost $7 million right there. That's half of Bud Dupree's tag. Are people? I can hear people on the other end of this thing right now. Cut him. he can't stay healthy. But I mean, those are the kinds of things that you're probably going to have to do. And then, who's going to are you going to try to sign Vanette back to be the your new kind of number one?
I'd rather not.
Anyway, we're spending way too much time on this, and I apologize, but
no, it's a good rabbit hole to go down. But I know we'll be traveling down a lot this offseason. But good chance to kind of look at the framework and take a realistic eye to the cap situation and just say how tough it is. And poor Javon Hargrave, man, we barely mentioned this whole conversation. He's going to get paid handsomely himself, but almost certainly by someone other than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's bring it back to Pittsburgh in the here and now, as they always do on Thursday. Randy Fichtner, Keith Butler talked to the media. Randy Fichtner talking about JuJu, and at the time the hope was still optimism he was going to be able to play on Sunday, and that's obviously not looking like the case now, so we'll skip that. I thought that, and this is a minor thing, but it just kind of talks about the fraternity of coaching and just kind of the continuity and just some cool stories that get associated with it. I loved hearing about Randy Fichtner talk about Ramon Foster and how Fichtner said that he recruited Foster and the Foster family way back in his college days, and how Ramon Foster didn't even pick up the phone or answer the door, just knew he was going to Tennessee, and now they're back together and kind of all that he's brought. And again, I think it's just so tough to see this team, not to get in the cap stuff again, but just so tough to see this team cut a veteran leader kind of guy like Foster in the offseason.
It'd be a good problem to have here. I'm going to throw out a scenario to you, okay? And this is, okay, Mike Tomlin, you're going to have to deal with this hypothetical. What if they win it all this year? Okay?
Oh, wow. That's a good problem.
Obviously, a good scenario, though. Do you think Ramon might say that's enough?
I don't know. Does he have a ring? No. He doesn't have a ring. He was in the Super Bowl with his Packers.
Right. He played in the game against the Packers, and he was an undrafted free agent in 2009. Right.
Yeah. All right. So no ring. That's a good question. I think I don't know what's in his head and in his heart, but that's possible. My thought was because
my thought is I got the ring. I'm not sure I want to go through this grind one more time.
Right. It just depends how his body's feeling, and I mean I'm sure he would like to play next year with Ben and do it again and have that final year with Ben. But yeah, I mean maybe not. It could be a thing where he wants to try to go out with Ben and Pouncey and all together. Who knows? My other thought with Foster, and again, I don't need to delve into cap stuff, is because my thought was, okay, you can't cut Foster because you're just going to have to sign Finney and you're just spreading that money over again. But the way the team did it against the Rams, if they wanted to dump Foster or if he retired in this hypothetical, it's probably cheaper and more effective to just shift Filer to left guard and start a core for it at right tackle. That way you're filling that hole without paying someone like Finney.
I concur, and but I tell you what, Filer's played some pretty damn good tackle this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
he's been great.
I can remember going back a couple of preseasons ago, saying, "Man, this back when Filer got a few snaps, over the years here at guard, thinking that guy's not too terribly bad of a guard."
Mm-hmm. And that was what they did against the Rams, and so they've proven that. I think they kind of showed a little lack of confidence in BJ Finney, and again, that way you don't have to pay Finney because if you cut Foster leaves, you're just paying Finney and you're replacing that contract essentially, probably even more than what Foster's making right now. So it's probably cheaper and based on what they've done to just shift Filer over, who can play guard and a core for, to finally get your former third-round draft pick in at right tackle,
or your buddy Zach Banner.
Or your buddy Zach Banner, yeah. So you could do either of those things. But back to Foster, yeah, I don't know. That's a very good question. I hope to entertain that idea of what happens to Ramon Foster after the Steelers win the Super Bowl.
I think that's a good scenario that you bring up if for whatever reason Foster's not part of it. You could potentially, and Finney's not either. You could potentially take Filer, shift him over to left guard, a core for a Banner. Take over the right tackle spot. Who knows what you have still in the kid out of Maryland Gray. You're still trying to work probably some with him. And then somewhere in the draft, second or third round, you get you that backup center / guard.
Right.
And bring him along slowly on top of it. So that might be and then later in the draft, maybe try your hand at another tackle, at some point in there as well too. So I think that's feasible, but I would not bet my house right now that Ramon Foster will be playing in 2019. I mean 2020. I'd bet half my house, but not the full thing.
Yeah, I'm still confident he will, unless he were to retire. But I wouldn't bet my house either. But anyway, to go back to Fichtner, speaking of Banner, they were talking about the jumbo tight ends and how Banner's run a couple of routes and said, these guys do run some routes, and it is always possible they throw them the football, but obviously they're run first oriented. And I think Banner, even BJ Finney working as a seventh offensive lineman in some packages last week, have done a nice job.
Funny how kind of stuff you and I tweet about and write about sometimes filters all the way down. I'm not sure a question along those lines would be asked if all 22 didn't exist now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if we'd be talking about some of those things if all 22 exist, because they open such a window that we don't get to see on TV.
Right. I'll tell you this. At some point, they're going to throw in one pass.
You think as a goal line play, or do you think
I would think that would be the only way, a 2-point conversion or goal line. That would make the most sense. I mean, do you want to really throw a pass to convert a third and 2?
My thought would be it would be one of those check down things where he just happened to be open. It wasn't really designed for him to get the ball, because I don't know if they're going to drop a design play for Banner as much as
I do. I think they will. I'm calling it right now.
All right, I like it.
I don't know, fake field goal. I mean, probably not that. I think.
Well, they did that with Villanova.
Right. I don't think you're going to go that far, but they're joking so much about it and all like that, and pawning it off like, no, that's not going to happen. That's when that kind of stuff happens.
All right.
So I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how. I just got a funny feeling that oh boy, can you imagine that if that happens what if that happened this week? Sunday night at Sunday night at Heinz Field against the Bill. Boy, you want to talk about his legend growing a little bit more. Look, it's fun to talk about, and I think more than anything when you get to the discussion about Zach Banner is, man, what a great story with him. Talking about how he was brought along, the things he was told not long after being signed. Look, you're going to be here. Just do the things that you need to do to get yourself in physical condition and all like that. I mean, because look, I remember writing that post up after he was signed. Was it last year during camp? Thinking, man, this seems like a Kevin Colbert special right here, trying to get a little bit of that pedigree and on. I think if you go back, they probably liked him in that draft. They probably didn't like him right where he maybe got taken there. But I mean, he's a hard player not to like, just in his general overall demeanor and all like that. He had to decide whether or not he wanted to play football, I think. And how dedicated he wanted to be to it. So here is a great story. He's obviously changed his body type and probably continuing to work on that. And when he's out there on the field, which has been quite a bit, in these extra lineman packages, he's played well.
Mm-hmm. Check out, there's a great interview. I listened to it yesterday. I think it just came out yesterday. It's about a 40-minute interview with Zach Banner on the Arthur Moats podcast. It tells a lot of awesome stories about Banner and his life, even some other Steelers stuff. Yeah, he showed up to Indy he showed up to, I think, rookie minicamp at 365, and he weighed in at 350 at the combine. And Chris Ballard, the GM for the Colts who drafted him, was pissed off and said, "You got to get your weight down. You need to be 350 for camp." He came up to camp at 358, got fined for it. Ballard didn't really like him throughout the rest of the process, and out of principle, cut him right at the start of the regular season after initially making the 53, just to kind of prove it of, okay, you didn't get your weight in the right place. We're going to cut you, keep you on the practice squad, and you'll come back up when you get your weight to 350. Well, that was the plan. Cleveland claims him. They don't really care about his weight. They don't do weigh-ins with him, and his weight balloons up to 420, and he basically falls out of the league. He gets his weight down, comes to Pittsburgh. I think he came to Pittsburgh at 370, and then basically down to like 340 now, and all that. So he was just really just gushing over how great of a coach Mike Munchak is and how great of a coach Mike Tomlin is and how they've kind of really helped revive his career. So it's a really great 40 minutes of fun stuff and serious stuff on there, and I encourage you guys to check that one out.
Yeah, definitely. Great story when it comes to him.
Mm-hmm. Also, I don't think Banner's on the field goal unit, by the way, so I don't think you're going to see the fake field goal to him, which is kind of weird. You think you would want 6'8", 340 on field goal team, but he's not out there, so... But they could throw it past him. That's possible.
I think I'm not ready to rule it out.
72 is eligible.
And let's see, what else do we have from Fichtner or Butler?
I think that was it from Fichtner. Butler really didn't have a whole lot to say, just talking about what's the biggest thing Steven Nelson has brought to your secondary. And Butler said, quote, I think him and Joe, both real good pros because they work at their craft all the time. It means something to them. They want to be good teammates to the guys around them. They just want to work at it all the time. They're diligent. They stay in the game, stuff like that. So I'm glad we've got both of them. Our Josh Carney does the missed tackles tracker, and he's added the percentages of missed tackles, which I think is really important to kind of put things in perspective. And both Hayden and Nelson are missing tackles at about a 10.7% rate, which is an awesome number for your outside corner. So I think their tackling, their steadiness, their consistency, and leadership have been invaluable to this secondary and this team.
Yeah, and I pointed out that a couple plays from the game against the Cardinals just in our last podcast here, that 2nd and 6 or whatever it was. Gave up the catch, but you kept them a yard short from the first down, and right. Those things add up, man. I mean, I know in the middle of the game it probably didn't. It just seemed like a 5-yard completion, but when you go back and look at this stuff after the fact, it's the little things like that matter. And then also when you go back on the on that jet sweep. To Kirk over there to the left hand side in the red zone there. Vince Williams wades through the trash and helps force that even wider outside. And Steven Nelson, man, that's asking a lot to have a big ugly come at you and try to take that on. I mean, that's their job, obviously, those outside corners. Not only does he take on that big block to he slips under and is in on the tackles as well. So, that's something we've talked about for years when it comes to the Steelers and these cornerbacks. We always like to throw out the phrase, stick their face in the fan. Boy, they got Mike Hilton will certainly do it. Cameron Sutton, one of the things that I think you pointed out early on during the preseason with Cam Sutton, man, that guy gets guys down to the ground quick. He's not nearly as physical as any of those guys, or he's not physical as Hilton, but he's improved his technique as a tackler, and he's been more effective. And then you get guys like Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson also chipping in and doing their part on that. Those saving those extra 2-3 yards here and there add up.
Mm-hmm. And then the whole secondary is tackling well. Even Edmonds' number is a little higher than those guys, but it's not untenable. And Minkah Fitzpatrick's missing tackles at 8%. Again, his tackling has been the most underrated factor of his game. Everyone knows about the interceptions, the splash plays, and the ball hawk nature that he plays with, but his tackling is excellent. I mean, he's the complete package at safety. And so the secondary tackling well, that's a big reason why they're not allowing the 40-yard play they allowed last year, because they're getting guys on the ground, and they're giving themselves more blades of grass to defend.
Right.
That was it, I think, for Butler. Anything else from those guys you wanted to talk about, Dave?
No, I think that's got it on that.
Okay, so let's transition to this Sunday night. Obviously, a critical game against the Buffalo Bills, the final home game for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. They'll be on the road with the Jets and the Ravens to finish things out. And again, battling for the 5th seed. If the Steelers win, they will become the 5 seed. If they lose, there's a chance they could temporarily be out of the playoff race should Tennessee beat Houston. So obviously a lot on the line. The Bills offense, a lot of similarities to Arizona. I think you'd probably agree with that. A mobile quarterback, obviously one of a different statue. Allen's a Roethlisberger type. Murray certainly isn't, but an offense that wants a good ground game. They don't turn the football over at all. They got 3 turnovers in their last 8 games. Allen has 1 pick over his last 8 games. He's doing a great job taking care of the football, controlling the line of scrimmage, controlling time of possession, a good run game. What do you see with that Bills offense?
I see them doing a lot of things that the Steelers like to do. They like to run some power. They like to get those. They like to get the guard and the tight end on the move in there. They like those power runs in there. However, off of that, they will do those kind of keepers with Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen a team run as much pin and pull as the Bills do this year.
Right. They do like to get those guys on the move. With the running back situation there with them, when you look at a guy like Devin Singletary, Man, that guy is tiny. He's hard to find. You would have to think he's kind of hard to find in the backfield. But not only that, he is a guy that he can take a hit and he can gain yards. He can make yardage happen after first contact. I think that's one thing that stood out for me. He's obviously got the speed to home run you, whether it be up the gut. I think he likes running that power. I think he's very effective with that power, and I didn't see a lot of outside zone. I don't know if you did either, but you would think that he can be a guy that that can one cut and back into a lane and go on you. Another thing that stuck out with me with him as well too, he's not afraid to. You want to talk about sticky face in the fan? He does that as well too in pass protection, and he's not bad at it.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank Gore is obviously Frank Gore. I mean, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But as we saw earlier while breaking down some tape, I think it was against when looking at Bengals tape, and did they play the Raiders this year? I'm trying to remember if Buffalo played the Raiders or not.
I don't know. I don't think.
But they will like to try to they'll run that inside zone and try to and that power right up the gut and just try to make the C's part there. And Gore, if you give Gore a head of steam and a crease, he can still get skinny up the middle, and he can still if he gets going forward there. Very very rarely do you see him going backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think their interior line is a little vulnerable to some of these run blitzes, and I think the interior guard and center play, they lost Derek Wood to, I think, an injury a couple of years back. I don't know how well they've been able to replace him, so I think you can see a similar game plan to Cleveland, where I think you're going to be aggressive with your inside linebacker blitzes and trying to blow some of these plays up. But you're right, yeah, they got a couple good backs with Singletary, teammate of Kareth White, so Steeler fans Kareth White will know him kind of well, a little bit of a reunion there. Frank Gore is 1,000,000 years old, but still doing it, and T.J. Yeldon can even be a third down piece and option. Then Josh Allen has the third most rushing yards of any quarterback in football, only behind Lamar Jackson and barely behind Kyler Murray. So they give you a lot of different threats. You got to defend the perimeter, you got to defend that read option. They want to be able to run the ball effectively, and they generally do a good job of running the football effectively.
Yeah, and look, I mean, they are that's their identity. I think they want to run first and pass second there. And once again, we're going to see their guards and their tight ends on the move.
Yeah, absolutely. And they got a couple good tight ends too. Dawson Knox is having, I think, a better than your typical rookie year tight end type of season. And then Lee Smith's one of my favorite guys. I mean, he's basically a sixth offensive lineman, one of the best blocking tight ends in football. And they can get a real push up front. But again, I think attack that interior offensive line. I think guys like Hargrave, Hayward, and some inside linebacker run blitzes can really be effective.
I guess at this point people probably already figured out we reached out to 2 Bills beat writers and couldn't get either one on the show today. So that's where we're at. Why Alex and I are doing the full breakdown today. But I mean, we obviously I watched 3 hours last night. Knox, a guy better out in route runner and pass catcher, I think, than he is a run blocker and a pass protector. I've seen him get ragdolled a few times trying to help out not only in run blocking but in pass protection. So if you can get this offense in undesirable behind the chains positions and he's on the field, he more of a speed bump than anything, I think, when it comes to him. But he can get down. Look, he's made some nice catches this year as well too. And in their passing game, back to Singletary there, they will try to do anything they can to get the ball out in his hands, out in open space.
Yeah.
So they will pitch it to him. They'll go empty and line him up way outside as well. So he is the guy. And look, I mean, John Brown at wide receiver is obviously a threat, as is the other Cole Beasley, kind of the slot do everything kind of guy, if you will, there. But Singletary is a guy that scares me because he could go 80 yards on you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think the Steelers have done reasonably well against some of those backs that can create Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon. I mean, those guys have had some success, but I think the Steelers have bottled it up and adjusted well enough, and there's enough effort in this defense to slow those guys down. But you're right, Singletary's the guy that can have the most exciting 2-yard run in the NFL. I think he has one similar this year because he is so tough to bring down. I mean, his straight line speed isn't good. He didn't test like it at the combine, but he's one of the most shiftiest and best change of direction kind of runners in the open field, especially in football. With the passing game, I agree. I think the big difference between Arizona and Buffalo, I said there's a lot of similarities between the two offenses. I think the speed that Buffalo has at receiver is a lot more than Arizona. Robert Foster, but especially John Brown, who's averaging over 14 yards per catch. He's got, I think, 14 receptions of 20-plus yards this year, so he can be the vertical threat. And if you're single high and Allen sees it, he's going to throw deep to really whoever, he's going to look off the single high safety and throw deep to whoever is away from the safety. So you got to be able to defend this stuff one-on-one, especially if you're playing single high. You
remember John Brown's the one that split the quarters. Well, I think it was the quarters coverage against the Ravens a couple years.
Against the Steelers?
Yeah, against the Steelers. Wasn't it?
Was that the one where Sutton and Hayden ran for each other? Yeah. Brown's been a burner. Yeah, Steelers have seen him before. Then Cole Beasley is kind of the got-to-have-it kind of guy. He's only got, 59 receptions this year, but he's 10th in the league in third down receptions with 21. In any of those scramble drills, it always seems to be that Allen finds Cole Beasley. So you got to be able to plaster him and not let him be able to beat you after the catch.
Yeah, he's can definitely get it done in the short yardage situations as well too. Kind of a Ryan Switzer on steroids, if you will.
Yeah, much better version of Ryan Switzer. It conceptually.
But before you move on there, and I'm gonna be delicate when I say this because I haven't, obviously haven't watched every play of every Bills game this year, but their offensive line is unknown. I'm gonna read off some of these names to make people kind of more familiar with. Deion Dawkins at left tackle. Quentin, a lot of people don't even know who Deion Dawkins is. Quentin Spain spent time with Tennessee, right?
Mm-hmm. He's the West Virginia boy, I think.
And didn't the Steelers have minor interest in him?
It might have been a pre-draft visit. That sounds right.
Mitch Morse obviously spent time with Kansas City, right?
Mm-hmm.
John Feliciano, a lot of people don't know, and obviously Cody Ford, a lot of people probably don't know at right tackle there. And I'll be delicate when I say this. That might be the most underrated run blocking line in the NFL right now.
It's a good point. They're big guys. It's a big front five. What are the weights on some of these guys? I haven't looked that up because Ford at right tackle is a house. He's a big guy.
I think Spain and Morse, I think, do a great job on the move. Those are the guys. You talk about the pin and pulls and running kind of traditional power. Those guys are going to be the guys on the run. And look, they'll go either way with it as well too. So Feliciano. Will also pull some in this game. Now, with saying that they might be the most underrated run-blocking offensive line in the league, but they got issues at pass protection, I think, there. Cody Ford versus T.J. Watt this week. That's a mismatch among mismatches, if you ask me. And Deion Dawkins, I think, has had his share of problems as well too. In the season that Bud Dupree's having, Spain, I think that's a nice matchup for Cameron Hayward against the pass there as well too. Just really all the way across, they're an obvious better run blocking team than they are a pass protection team. So even more important, I think, 13 or 14 of the times that Allen's been sacked, I can't remember the exact number, have come on third downs and 7 or more yards to go with them, which isn't surprising overall that a quarterback gets sacked on third downs. But I think that number jumped out. He's one of the highest sacked quarterbacks, I think, in the league on third down, talking about Allen there. So looking at individual play of Ford specifically, this sets up real well, trying to say that fast, when you're talking about a guy like T.J. Watt. So once again, their MO is to come out and try to run. And look, it's going to be cold as my old man.
Very cold.
My old man, you say cold as a witch's tit. Can you say that?
Well, he said it.
Okay. but you're going to be cold. Obviously, might be a little bit of wind involved. It really feels like the team that can run better in this game early and will probably have the opportunity to run successfully late, and that's going to probably be the difference in the game. If you can force Allen to get into some third and long situations here. And another thing you talked about, Alex, right on the money, especially with John Brown, obviously being able to kill you downfield. They're not afraid to throw to the tight ends in the middle of the field, down the field as well too. But Josh Allen has not been great with his accuracy on the deep ball, and by that I'm talking more than 15 yards down the field. Really has missed some throws. So, how's he going to play on the road in the cold, coming into this game not being he's obviously going to take some chances, but I haven't been overly impressed with his accuracy on deep balls.
Well, I think he'll play well in the cold because he's in Buffalo and he went to Wyoming. So I don't know if the cold's going to be foreign to him. But you're right, his completion percentage overall is 59.8%. And I don't know why that is. If we had a beat writer, I was going to ask why that rating is low, because for the NFL, by today's standards, that's pretty abysmal. But I think he's a good quarterback and a tough guy. But you're right, he's been sacked a ton. He's been sacked 10 times the last 2 weeks, 6 against Baltimore. They really kind of put a licking on him. So I think you can certainly get after him. And on those read option plays, he's taking more hits. So it's a big line. I mean, yeah, Spain's 330, Ford's 329, Feliciano's 325. Mitch Morse is 6'6", listed at 305, and that's just listed. These guys are typically bigger than that, but you're right. Pass protection is going to be an issue for them.
I envision their screen game coming back alive a little bit here in this one. Get the ball out from Allen quick into the hands of Singletary. They like to use Cole Beasley misdirection coming across the formation to a quick little catch right at the line of scrimmage over to the right side and let him run after the catch. They like to try to get those smaller, shifty guys out in space in some one-on-one battles.
Yeah, conceptually, the big thing I saw in their passing game is a dagger concept, which is a seam with a dig. So a seam to try to clear out the safety, then the dig's going to run underneath on a 15, 20-yard crosser. So that's kind of one of their more popular concepts. One other note is they have run some fake plays this year against Dallas on Thanksgiving. Wide receiver John Brown threw a 26 or 28-yard touchdown pass to Devin Singletary, a little reversed. Got Singletary out on a little wheel route, wide open. So watch out for any sort of trickery from the Buffalo Bills this weekend.
I hope I don't regret saying this, but their running game scares me more than the passing game.
I think that's fair. I think that's, again, it's a very Cardinals-centric team where they have to run the ball to be effective. And if they don't, then they're going to be in trouble.
And while Josh Allen is not on the injury report, at least right now, yeah, I don't know how much you want him running in this game if you're them. I mean, I know that's who they are to some degree with the design runs, but I just don't know if I want him out there taking some of these hits.
Well, he's going to take him in the pass game because I think the Steelers are going to get after him at least a couple times. They need to, but I think that they will.
Do you go after him, or is your four-man rush been sufficient enough that you think you can get the pressure and hit him a time or two in there?
Well, yeah, I think you just be creative with it. Creative how you send four. It may be, you drop an outside linebacker, but you bring a nickel corner. You drop an outside linebacker, you bring in an inside linebacker. I mean, that stuff this team's done before. So I don't know if you change. You're not going to go, obviously, cover zero. You're not going to rush 6 or 7 guys. But, can you creatively rush, 4 and then creatively rush 5 occasionally? Sure. I think that's what Keith Butler's going to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to maybe get Knox maybe a little bit more involved in the passing game in this one as well, too.
Yeah, Steelers have not, as typical, haven't always defended tight ends well, and Knox was drafted to be a receiver and has made impact plays in the pass game. He's got some drops, and his blocking's not good, as you pointed out, but the guy can catch a football, and that could be a threat to the Steelers.
Especially in the red zone, kind of, how Disley did, and there's been a couple of them this year. Who was the other one against Bush that won in the red zone?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't remember the name.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking
about.
But
I would look for them to maybe look heavily at Knox in the red zone.
Yeah, that was the Browns tight end that dropped that pass. Fells, whoever it was, that Bush probably didn't have the best coverage there. But yeah, either way, Steelers have had trouble with tight ends for since 1981, basically, and hasn't changed since. To the defense, for Buffalo's defense, I think they're a stingy defense. They don't give up big plays. They're well coached, but if there's an area you want to attack them, and I'm guessing you agree, Dave, it's going to be the run game.
Oh,
the run defense,
brother, you are
take it away. I think you got something to say.
You are right there. Try to let me pull up my post here. Try to vamp.
I'll vamp here, for a little bit. They are 21st in yards per carry allowed at 4.6. I think one of the biggest reasons, because they got talent up front, they got some good names, but I think one of the biggest reasons why their run defense has suffered, they have the 8th most missed tackles in football with 99. I think that helps create yards after contact. But there's talent up front with Ed Oliver, 8th overall pick this year. Jordan Phillips. I want to talk about Jordan Phillips because he almost became a Pittsburgh Steeler, but I'll save that in a second. But something about that run defense just has been shaky because they're playing more sub package. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I think the missed tackles have a good bit to do with it.
Yeah, look, the other Edmonds kid over there, he can cover a lot of ground. He he kind of reminds you of who was the Florida State kid that undrafted free agent linebacker?
Matthew Thomas.
Yeah, he kind of
better than Matthew Thomas.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is he's big and he's athletic like that. Just kind of an imposing kind of guy for an inside linebacker.
And he's 21?
Right. I mean, when you turn on the tape, the first thing I thought was, man, this guy's real. And I watched some tape of him, obviously coming out of VT and all like that. But when you really put on that tape, he kind of sticks out the way in a few of those preseason tape games that Thomas played in. Just his size and the way he moves so fluidly. And all like that. He'll come up and smack you, but I don't think he's the surest tackler. Maybe that's an Edmonds trait.
You're not getting invited to the.
Yeah, I don't think cookies have me over, right?
Nope.
But look, he's obviously the centerpiece of the second line of their defense. You see on tape those guys up front getting moved and turned, man. And you see them get split open on some power as well too. We talked a little bit about that. Now here's the thing. The tape said it. The initial tape rundown said, and I think we talked about this the other day. Man, their run defense doesn't seem to be all that. So I went digging, obviously more into the tape and then more into the stats as well. Obviously I hate yards per carry stats. Okay, but I'm gonna start there. Their defense has allowed opposing running backs only. Okay, not quarterback, not Lamar Jackson, not end rounds. Running backs, 4.56 yards per carry so far this season, and only 7 other defenses have been worse in that statistical category when it comes to running backs only. Additionally, I'm big high. I will talk. I'm not afraid to talk about the two things. I'm not afraid to talk about: successful play rates and adjusted net yards per passing attempts.
It's on your business card you hand
They're
out.
gonna put it. My wife's gonna put it on my tombstone there. And when you give my eulogy, you tell them.
I will.
You tell the people, Alex.
Because I know if I don't, you will rise up from the grave and you will yell at me for it.
Alex, you tell the people about the old days and the adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat. You tell them about successful run rates, okay? Anyway.
It's more prophecy. You're bordering on over there, Dave.
Additionally, the Bills' defense has allowed a 50% successful run rate by opposing running backs. And you might say, man, Dave, 50% doesn't sound a lot. 50% is good for a back, for a running back, for a successful rate, over, once you have enough sample size to work with there. So they're allowing a 50% successful run rate to running backs. Now, obviously, if you have a 3rd and 1 run and you get 1 yard, that's a successful run. But these are just runs in general in their first 13 games. And a whopping 36 runs against them have gone for 10 yards or more to opposing running backs. And that's up there as well, too. To put that kind of into some sort of perspective for everyone, the Steelers' defense has allowed 25 runs of 10 yards or more to opposing running backs so far this season. And Alex, since week 3, they've allowed just 15. This is the Steelers, 15 runs of 10 yards or more. And it feels like most of those came to Todd Gurley for some reason, but they didn't. This is a defense I think that is susceptible to the run. I wouldn't change a damn thing about what the Steelers have done the last 3 weeks when it comes to their running game. And look, I mean, if James Conner better be healthy because he's going to have to do that same kind of stuff. I think you run the power. I think you run. We probably haven't seen enough pin and pulls for our liking. But maybe with White, another year experienced in here, you can maybe do that with him some around the end. With him, you run your traditional, your inside zone stuff there. There is no reason not to expect or want or hope for the Steelers running game to have success and have success early against this Bills front. If they're unable to run early and they get behind, it's going to be very disappointing.
You're right. I think the victor of this game comes down to who runs the football more effectively. I know that sounds very 1970 cliche,
sure,
but I think that's really what it's going to come down to, especially given the weather conditions and the identity for both of these teams, that they want to play ball control, they want to get themselves in third manageable, they want to be the more physical team up front. Their defenses ultimately make some of the big plays and keep the score down. But yeah, I'm with you. Power all day. DeCastro to the left, and then they actually pulled Pouncey a good bit last week to his right, doing some stuff out in space. So Pouncey to the right, DeCastro to the left. That's the way I'm going to deal with it. I worry about Ed Oliver kind of penetrating a little bit. That is one concern. But for whatever reason, the Bills' run defense has not been strong this year, and you're just going to go with your best concepts, your best schemes, and that's power all day. Yeah,
look, I mean, there's a very good chance that we could see Finney and Banner play together quite a few snaps as the extra guys with McDonald out, because unless Vanette's on the move, I'm not too excited about seeing him blocking, handling some of those defensive ends and all.
Right.
But I think if you get, you're going to see some jumbo stuff, man. You're going to see some large men on the field, I think, Sunday night.
Yeah, absolutely. With the pass defense, again, it's very stingy. I think the stat that sums it up best, and you touched on it, is that they're second best in the NFL in passes of 20-plus yards. They're 26 in runs of 10-plus yards. So that kind of shows you the difference and disparity between those guys. But the pass defense, I mean, they're strong. The pass rush is good. And you go back to Jordan Phillips, because I said I wanted to talk about Jordan Phillips. He's got 7.5 sacks this year. I did not realize that until I looked at their stat sheet for the season last night. The Steelers put in a waiver claim on Phillips last year when he got cut by the Dolphins, and they lost out because Buffalo was higher in the waiver order. So it would be nice to have Jordan Phillips right now in lieu of Hargrave probably walking after this year. But anyway, they got 38 sacks this year. I think 15 Bills defenders have at least one sack this season. Steelers only have 11 of those guys, despite leading the league in sacks. So they're getting it from a lot of different places. They're getting it from DBs. Defensive backs have 4 sacks this year. Watch out for guys like Jordan Poyer at that safety spot, flying in. And then that interior tandem of Phillips and Ed Oliver. Both those guys have at least 5 sacks this year. Phillips with 7.5. Oliver with 5. One of only 3 teams this year have multiple interior defensive linemen with 5+ sacks. So those guys can really get after the quarterback for being large individuals.
Yeah, they're not afraid, I don't think, at least what I saw, try to manufacture a few, with sending numbers at times.
11th most blitz rate, 11th highest blitz
rate.
Is
that what it is? I didn't look that up. Yeah, just in the 4 games that I watched, it seemed like they're not afraid to go after them there and help those, and the numbers have helped out with them when it comes to sacks. Now, this is a better pass defense, obviously, than it is a rush defense, but they haven't been overly it kind of reminds me of past Steelers defenses a little bit there. Having to do a little bit to kind of manufacture some sacks there, and they haven't been too opportunistic when it comes to turnovers either. As good as they played against the pass this year, they have 16. They have 16 total takeaways, Alex, and a safety. Okay. What did the Steelers have total takeaways last year? 15?
Yep. They got 33.
So, look, that Tre'Davious White over there, a phenomenal player, really good player over there. And the rest of their secondary isn't bad, but I think they're really kind of reliant on the pressure aspect when it comes to them.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, don't make it easy on them, man. I mean, they haven't been a ball hawking type secondary so far this season. I think they've obviously forced a few fumbles via some sacks and all like that. But top to bottom, when you get past Tre'Davious White, they got some decent safeties. I think more than decent safeties you'd say in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer.
Mm-hmm.
But they just haven't been that's the thing that stuck out to me is they haven't been a very opportunistic defense. However, you boil it down to the numbers with them. They have the same adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat of 4.8 that the Steelers do. So that speaks to something when it comes to the pass defense with them. Once again, man, 16 total takeaways with them. I think 30. I was blown away. I thought this number was going to be higher. 31 total takeaway points off of turnovers the Bills have this year. Just 31. Now, obviously, when you only have 16, but you would have said there were some opportunities for them with some takeaways that they did not bury, and I'm talking about not even a field goal. So, man, that kind of speaks to the offense a little bit as well.
Are you describing the Bills or the Steelers? Because they sound pretty similar.
Yeah, you're right. Man, just don't make it easy on them by giving them the football in plus territory via silly, indecisive bad throw or Benny Snell coughing the football up or those kind of things there, because they just have not been a defense to date that has done a good job of taking the football away. However, we got a 20 game streak that
I was just gonna say if this streak hits 21. It'll be old enough to drink, and I'll need a drink if this streak goes to 21, because you can't do it. And I think it starts by this is going to be tough to do, but you really can't throw to Trey White because he's one of the best corners in football, an emerging star. He's responsible for 4 of the 9 Bills interceptions this year, so he's got 4. The rest of the Bills team has 5 picks this season, so he's a guy you want to try to throw away from and scheme away from as much as possible. Overall, their defense, they don't take away the football a lot, but they just don't give up a lot of points and a lot of yards. They're second in the league in points per game allowed, third in yards per game allowed. Their third in pass touchdowns given up. They've only allowed 20-plus points, just 20-plus in this era in 4 of their 13 games, only given up more than 25 once, and they've held teams to 17 or fewer points in 8 of their 13 games. So they're just a team that's effective. They're good on third down. They got a top 6 third down defense. They just don't. They're very much the bend but don't break kind of defense with a good pass rush.
What are they in red zone? I forgot they seem like a good team red zone wise on tape. I did not look at the stats.
A little worse there than you or I would expect. A sample size is always going to be a factor, but they're 20th in red zone defense.
What's the percentage?
I don't have it maybe in my notes somewhere. I think it's like 58%. Let me find it in my notes here. Where are they in red zone? They are 58.8% red zone defense. That's 20th in the NFL, which is good because the Steelers suck in the red zone.
When it comes to explosive plays as well, they have allowed, I think, 25, was it?
I have 26 of passes of 20-plus yards, which is second best in football.
Let me look where that it didn't feel you have to search for them. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they keep a lid on things. I mean, they're again like Pittsburgh, where they don't give up the big play. They get a good pass rush. Now the Steelers have more takeaways, still more sacks overall, and I think the Steelers have a better defense than Buffalo. But these two teams are pretty similarly constructed in terms of having young quarterbacks. Allen, again, more experience, a better quarterback, I would say, than Duck Hodges. But Hodges is playing well, obviously. But teams that want to be able to run the football don't want to turn the football over. They want to be opportunistic defensively. They want to get pressure. The Bills, I think, are a more aggressive team in terms of their blitzes. They ran a lot of even cover 0 against empty last week. If I'm Randy Fichtner, I'm probably not using empty sets this week. And if I do, someone better know who's hot, because the Bills will send 6 and just force that ball to come out quick.
Yeah, looking back at the explosive plays here real quick. 20, yeah, I thought it was, I knew it was 25, 26. 26 pass plays at 20 yards or more, which is near the bottom of the league, as you point out. However, as I alluded to, they have given up 10 explosive plays on the ground. Now, how many of those were by Mr. Lamar Jackson? was it there? I'll have to
Sure,
look.
a couple. Yeah, but again, like I said earlier, I mean they're 26 in runs allowed of 10 or plus 10 or more yards. That's all players, not just quarterback or not just running backs, but and they're second best in terms of plays of 20 plus yards, so pass plays. So again, running the football has got to be the key for both teams here.
Let's see. Looks like no. It looks like Chubb had 3 of those explosive runs against them.
What about Lamar?
I don't see any on here.
No?
I have of the 10. Chubb had 3. And then all the other running backs had 1. Looks like Benny Fowler was a wide receiver. I think they did some sort of end around on him. I saw on there. So one of them was a wide receiver run. The other 9 were running back runs. But those 10 explosive runs were 28 yards in average overall. 2 of them ended up in the end zone there. So yeah, if you big play him, it's probably going to be in a cover 1 situation down the sideline.
Yeah, or if they're going to go even cover 0 and just try to bring the house, and you can get a run after catch, break a tackle. Again, 8th most missed tackles in football. Something to note there. Special teams, not a whole lot to talk about, but Andre Roberts is a talented, accomplished return guy. I think he's averaging 25, 26 yards per kick. So coverage team's been good this year, but got to be able to be steady. Tyler Bedekovich, I just got to give him credit. He is the NFL's leader in most special team tackles since he came in the league in 2016. He's got 34 of them. I think that's 2 or 3 more than whoever's in second place. So that guy deserves to go to a Pro Bowl for that alone.
Don't put that on SteelersDepot.com.
I didn't put it on Steelers Depot because maybe their sponsor would have been good, but there was a nice outpouring of support after I tweeted that yesterday, so that was good to see. He got my vote for the Pro Bowl.
You know, you and I talk every year, like it or not. You got guys that are kept because of special teams more so than what they might provide for their actual position, and Tyler Bedekovich is one of those guys. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why he was on our 53-man roster projections all year long. You know, Jordan Dangerfield's another one of those kind of guys. Roosevelt Nixon, obviously one of those kind of guys. Chicolo, one of those kind of guys. People don't like to hear it, but that's the way the Steelers construct, and a lot of teams construct their rosters around the league. And now you have the other kid in Robert Spillman that you pointed out the other day, following along those same footsteps. You got special teams coordinators that are going to be allowed to bang the table for 1 or 2 guys, and those are the kind of guys that they're banging the table for.
Yeah, Steelers have always had special teams players. You know, in their 2000s teams, early 2000s, it was Sean Morey, Clint Creedwalt, and yes, Chidi Iwoma. Who were they? Maybe was there a guy in the 70s? Do you remember any special teams kind of guys in the 70s that made an impact during that dynasty run, Dave?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. A lot of them played both ways. A lot of them did it all anyway. You know.
Right.
Donnie Sheller, I think early on had to do some special teams work and all like that as well too. So,
but anyway, so yeah, just something to note there. Anything else with Buffalo you want to note? I think, like I said, I think these are 2 pretty similar teams. Obviously, teams with almost identical records. If Pittsburgh wins, they will have identical records. Pittsburgh will have tiebreaker and be the 5 seed. But I think it comes down to who takes care of the football and who runs the ball more effectively.
I really can't see that we've already thrown it out there. The running game being the difference on this. I mean, it's a captain obvious. Don't turn the football over, but boy, you really don't want to turn the football over in this game. I don't think. Nor do you want to miss a field goal. I think. Right. Because I mean, if you miss a field goal, at your own 40, you're already talking about a shorter field right there. Oh, one other aspect I wanted to go back to real quick here if I can find it. I had to write up that I'm trying to speak this dubious streak of theirs of turnovers ending. I'm trying to speak that into existence, the old hung by the tongue thing.
Okay, you went with like the newest school reference and then the oldest school reference back to back, Dave.
That's how I am. That's how I roll. Yeah. Okay. I'm referring to, let's see, 20 consecutive games as we talked about there. And those have heard on the scoreboard as well, too. The Steelers have had 242 total points scored against them so far this season. 85 of them have come off of traditional turnovers. Add in another 10 points that were scored off the Steelers turning the football over to the opposing offense on downs, and the total jumps to 95 putos. Now that's a new school reference, and I created it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's gotten popular. I've seen that used a lot.
95. Well, at least that'll be my shining moment, won't it? When I get to wherever
I'll be on
I'm
the
going.
tombstone.
95 points off of turnovers this year. 39.3% of all points scored against them. And it just seems like every week it's one here. Yeah, it's one. At least one there. Once again, the Bills have not been opportunistic off of turnovers. Don't give them a reason to start.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's the other difference is that the Bills, again, do not turn the football over. How many giveaways do the Bills have this year? I know it's less than Pittsburgh, but again, they've only turned the ball over 3 times in the last 8 games, and the Steelers would love to come anywhere close to that. They've turned it over in 20 straight games, including obviously at least once in every single game this season, and that could be a difference.
We've talked about a few times of late. How is this team going to perform when they're unable to get the turnover? We might find out Sunday night there. They have 14 giveaways on the year, 9 interceptions and 5 fumbles.
And Pittsburgh has 21 giveaways. That's a substantial difference.
Yeah. So one turnover could be the difference in this game. It really, really could. And one failed 4th down conversion, or if you go for it, might be the difference in this game. So people might not like it, but I expect the Steelers to come up I expect both teams to come out with kind of a conservative approach here, trying to feel each other out on the ground, whatnot, and punts are a plus if you can pin them deep in this game, and 3rd and longs if you can get that key sack, and maybe that strip sack in this game could be huge as well too.
I'm with you, but I think it also could come down to which J-name receiver makes the big play first, John Brown or James Washington, because someone's going to have to go vertical, someone's going to have to create a big play to win this game. It may only be 1 or 2, but someone's going to have to do it. So, both teams with vertical threats, who's going to cash in first?
Over or under 6.5 combined explosive plays by the 2 teams.
That's 20-plus yards?
Right.
I'm going to go under.
That's a good number, though, isn't it? 6.5?
Yeah, Matt, I feel like we're already doing our picks, which frustrates me. I'm going to go under. I think the weather plus how good these defenses are.
And if one of them's a double or a triple, that might be the difference in this game. I mean, you hate to boil it down to old school, who runs the football best and don't turn it over, but that's what this game really feels like here. Yeah. Keep a lid on it and get off on 3rd down.
Yep, when you have 2 evenly matched teams like this in pretty similar situations, that's usually what it does come down to. So, all right, Dave, anything else from this game, or do you want to start moving on here?
Yeah, I think that's got it. I mean, they're an impressive team to look up on tape as a running team. I will say that, and that's what scares me. That and that Singletary kid out in space. He really impressed me, especially in all areas, pass protection and all.
Yeah. No, Sean McDermott's done a great job to turn this. They were 6-10 a year ago, and now they're on the verge at some point this year, probably getting 10 wins to close out 2019. So kudos to them. All right, Dave.
Real quick, yeah. Is Frank Gore a Hall of Famer?
I mean, I love Frank Gore. What he's doing is he the oldest running back to ever play in the NFL? I don't know who would be older than him. It's hard for me to say that. It feels. And I don't mean that this is a slight, but it feels a little Testaverde-ish, where he's just been in the league for a long time. He's never been, an elite player for too much of his career. So my gut, I always try to go off my gut with this stuff. Either you kind of feel it or you don't. I don't get that feeling with Frank Gore, but he's had one heck of a career. I know he's 3rd all time in NFL rushing. I don't get the Hall of Fame sense with him.
I'm gonna get some pushback on this. I have a feeling because of the analogy and.
Was there a Heinz Ward thing coming? Yeah, I knew it. That's fair.
Is he the Heinz Ward of running backs?
A little bit. I mean, because my thing with Hall of Famers is, were you considered?
You and I really do think alike sometimes.
That scares me.
I know we're totally different people, and thank God you don't have the afflictions that I have. But we really do think kind of along the same lines. I think and that was exactly where I was going with this.
Yeah, it just were you a top 3 guy at your position for an extended period of time? Heinz Ward wasn't. Was Frank Gore? Maybe I don't remember it well enough, but I just don't get that sense. I did have a great sophomore year. I'm looking at stats now, rush for near 1,700 yards, but I just don't get that sense when you talk about the backs from this era, who were the best backs from his era, 2005 to present day. Where does Frank Gore rank in that list? He's outside probably the top 5 for me, and so I don't think I would give him a gold jacket.
Yeah, he might be a guy later down the road, sort of like maybe with a Heinz Ward later down the road. But yeah, I don't think so right now. I don't, and he is a fun player to watch. I've enjoyed his entire career, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but he's 36 years old. He's still playing, and that itself is one heck of an accomplishment. So kudos to him. All right, Dave, let's talk about our friends over at MyBookie before we start making our picks for the week.
All right, are you the type of fan that knows football so well that you could choose any game and call it? Well, MyBookie is the place for you because they let you turn all of your sports knowledge into cash in your wallet. Between football season, NBA, and the start of college basketball season, it's time to get off the sideline and get in on the action with MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy or girl who likes to bet a little and win a lot, try a parlay. For instance, if you like a couple of the big favorites this week, parlays are perfect because they let you bet multiple games together for a much bigger payout. So, if you're going to bet this season, do the smart thing and go to MyBookie.ag because no one gives you more ways to win. Tired of watching the games from your couch with nothing to gain? MyBookie wants to get your mind off everything else and back on the game. If you join right now, MyBookie will match your initial deposit halfway, all the way up to $1,000. That means if you deposit $2,000, you get an extra $1,000 in free money to play with. To take advantage of that promotion, please go to mybookie.ag and enter in promo code TERRIBLE. That's terrible. Somebody terrible like my voice. Somebody said I wrote a post the other day and they read it in my voice. Can you imagine?
Oh. Somebody said it sounded like a mouse. Do I sound like a mouse, Dave? I don't think I sound mouse. I'm a little nasally, but I don't sound mousy.
Hello, boys and girls.
Okay. I wish I didn't bring it up.
Sound like Mickey Mouse sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. No, I don't think that. You kind of sound more like kind of the Home Alone kid sometimes. But
is that a compliment or
I don't know. Maybe, yes.
Okay.
Just use promo code TERRIBLE to activate the offer. Once again, it's promo code TERRIBLE to take advantage of MyBookie's generous sign-up offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. You get paid like I did last night. I didn't have a great feeling about that game. The Ravens minus 17. In fact, I think I told you when we were exchanging picks last night, man, this has push written all over it. Well, there's one point in the fourth quarter, too, where I thought, here comes the backdoor cover here. And not 2 minutes, I think, after I put that up, the Ravens jumped back in, I think, like 28 points or something like that there. So I picked it correctly last night. You did not. Nice. I needed that big time, especially when it comes to us going to head-to-head. So that brings us to the rest of the week's picks, Week 15. We'll start off with Tampa Bay at Detroit. You're going to have this one front and center on the boob tube.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't you?
Wow, Jameis Winston.
Woohoo! Lions at home, +4.
Give me Tampa. I know Winston's just such I think I saw a video comparing him to like Russian roulette, and that's really what he is. But the Lions, I don't know. I think that team's checking out. Patricia's on the hot seat. I'm going to go Tampa.
I'm going to go with Tampa later, 4 points on the road as well, too. Philadelphia on the road against the Washington Redskins. Philly, weird game the other night against the tale of two halves there when it came to the game against the Giants there. Philadelphia on the road laying 5.5 against the Redskins.
Yeah, this one's tough. Philadelphia has, one healthy receiver. I think we're suiting up pretty soon here, Dave, for them. I don't have a great feeling about this one. I know Haskins has struggled predictably coming in midway through the year. I'm going to go Philadelphia by touchdown.
I am, too. I wish you start picking the opposite way of some of me.
I'm first over here.
Yeah. Philadelphia, they're going to blow them out here. Lay to 5.5 on the road. Good. This one should be a good one. Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field.
Oh, wow. John Facenda there.
Yeah. -4 for the Packers at home.
Is that John Facenda? That was John. I'm referencing the right person there, aren't I? Right?
I know Facenda did The Autumn Wind is a Pirate.
All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. What's the line here?
Packers -4.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has been weird lately. He hasn't been playing like his Aaron Rodgers self. I don't know. I just still look at that Bears offense. I know they've gotten a little bit better, but it's just hard for me to trust them. I'm going to go Green Bay at Lambeau Field.
Damn you to hell. Do you know what? Have you ever seen the original Planet of the Apes with Charlton? Some of the early stuff with all the early Planet of the Apes movies.
No, none of them. None of the recent ones. If there are recent ones, they're the old ones. Sorry, Dave.
I won't. You know what? I don't enjoy. I've seen 1.5 of the newer ones, and I don't like them. I'm old school. I like those older ones. You gotta.
Why don't you like the new ones?
I just because I don't know. I think they're just a little bit more. I don't know. More serious, I guess. More depth to them, I guess. I don't know. But
that is some old man status.
Yeah, right. Boy, the old ones with Charlton Heston and all, those are fantastic. Damn you all to hell! You ruined it. Get your hands off me, you dirty ape. Anyway, where were we?
Green Bay. Or no, we picked that game, right?
Packers, Packers -4 there for me as well too. New England at the Bengals. Boy, what's happening with that Patriots offense? I mean, not good. The Death Star has an oil leak, man, big time, and it's not on the defensive side of the football. There. All that said, Patriots on the road laying 10.5 against the Bengals.
Yeah, even on the road here, even with that offense struggling, I know the Bengals have perked up a little bit with Andy Dalton back under center. I'm going to go with the Patriots, and maybe the Patriots, stealing those signals might help them out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to go. We're going to turn around and say, where did that come from? They're going to put up 40 points. The Patriots are going to put up 40 points on the Bengals here.
You think there's anything there with that recent Spygate story? Them taping the Bengals?
Man, I don't even know what to think about that anymore. I mean, why are you filming that sideline? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't buy the story they're pushing.
Man, you would think they would know better by now, but I guess you're not trying if you're not cheating, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing there. I think we know just enough about that to be dangerous, and obviously it's not surprising that the Patriots are involved in this. Mm-hmm. It just 1 and 1's not equaling 2 right here when it comes to their defense. And this is just we have nothing to do with it on our side. That's just do the right whatever documentary, whatever they're trying to do. What is the scouting? What is the preface of what they're doing?
Yeah, it's
pre-scout.
Well, they're doing the documentary to do your job, and their claim is that they were just having an interview with one of the advanced scouts to give that perspective, and they were just talking to him, and they're not associated with the team, but it's Kraft Productions. I mean, how is that not associated with the team in some sense? So, yeah, hard to buy with it is what they're trying to sell.
Now, look, I don't want to come off as an apologist to Patriots. I'm sure I've been accused of that more times than not over the years here. But, Alex, you could go to that game yourself with a set of binoculars, sit in the stands, and scout their signals.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. I don't know. You
could film it too.
Yeah, but again, their claim is that they were just filming and talking to the scout, and that was it. But yet, there's 8 minutes at the Bengals sideline. Why is that being filmed? What's the point there? And that's where the story falls apart for me.
Yeah, and I guess I go back to just the defense that they could send anybody to sit in the crowd and do the same thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I still love the Patriots winning by more than 10.
I do too. Houston Texans. This one has I don't know who are we rooting for here, man. We want Houston to win to beat the Titans down, right?
Yep. Houston.
Because of the Titans being technically behind Houston right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, Houston at the Titans. The Titans laying 3 at home. Houston hadn't looked. Houston has a problem lately.
They got a defensive problem and offense too, probably. Yeah, the Titans are arguably the hottest team in football right now. Tannehill's been such a shot in the arm. As much as I'd like Houston to win this one, I'm going Tennessee to win. I think they're just playing great ball, offense and defense. Derrick Henry might be one of the most underrated players in football right now with the season he's having.
You done slipped up. You done left the back door open for me here.
All right,
Houston's going to snap out of it this week here. Houston's going to win by a touchdown. Give me the Texans +3 on the road.
Hope you're right.
Seattle at the Carolina Panthers. Panthers +7 at home against Seattle.
Nah, they've fallen apart. Kyle Allen's kind of come back to earth. Clock strike 12 with him. I know I'm always probably a bigger fan of Seattle than probably most people, but I just think they're a well-coached team. They got a good identity, a decent defense. I love Russell Wilson. Give me Seattle.
Give me Seattle late of 7 as well. Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. Denver playing a little bit of decent ball as of late here. But all that said, Kansas City at home laying 9.5.
Chiefs will win. Broncos will cover. That defense for the Chiefs has been super great. Drew Lock looked amazing last week. As long as no Fant plays, I'm going to stick with this one. I'm going to say Broncos do cover this one.
Kansas City by 2 touchdowns in this one. Lay the 9.5. Miami Dolphins at the New York Football Giants. Nobody cares, but they still have to put a line out on it. Giants at home laying 3.5 with Mr. Manning, assuming probably going to play again.
Yeah, I think I know Jones is out of the boot, but he's probably not going to play this week. Maybe he won't play again this season. I'm going to go Miami. I think they've been competitive. Brian Flores is I think is the right guy for the job. Give me the Dolphins.
This is the Giants' final home game, right? Of the season?
It? I have no idea.
Eli's got to win that. And got to cover too. So -3.5. Give me the Giants.
He's got to cover too.
Yeah, he's got to cover too.
Yeah, just like those famous sports movies. Get the win and get the cover.
Jacksonville Jaguars on the road against the Oakland Raiders. Raiders made some curious late kind of moves. I mean, mathematically they're still alive, but they sure did kind of gut some things, especially on the defensive side of football there. Raiders at home in the black hole -7.
That's what Rudy was all about, right? Him getting the cover. I think that's how that movie went.
I'm surprised you've watched that one.
Actually, I haven't seen Rudy.
You haven't?
No, I should admit that.
You have not seen Rudy? What about the the other football movie, Vince?
I haven't seen Vince Papale in the movie. I'm bad with movies, even sports movies. I've seen The Replacements, and then The Longest Yard probably doesn't help.
You haven't seen the original Longest Yard, have you?
No.
With
first.
Oh, God.
Burt Reynolds was in the second one, less so. But he's in I've seen Remember the Titans.
Make your damn pick.
All right. What's the line here?
-7 Raiders.
I don't know. Give me Jacksonville, right? Raiders.
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
yeah.
Give me Jacksonville.
Gruden to get them back right this week. Late of 7 there. Cleveland Browns on the road. Something going to happen here. Cleveland on the road against Arizona Cardinals. Browns favored by 3 on the road.
Favored by 3 on the road going out west. Arizona's been sneaky good. I'm going to go Arizona on this one.
I am too. I think I smell an upset here. I think Arizona will take them out here. Atlanta Falcons on the road against San Francisco 49ers. 49ers -11.
This one's tough. I'm going to go 49ers, though.
I'll go 49ers late 11 points as well, too. Los Angeles Rams on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas needs this one. I don't think they're going to get it. Rams on the road laying 2.
I thought the line would be larger, and I'd go Dallas. This one's tough. I don't know. I think Dallas is going to give it one last chance at it. I'm going to go with Dallas in this one, but I'm not confident.
I'm going to take the Rams on the road, lay the 2. Too bad we can't pay for all access Jerry Cam, 20 all full game access of a Jerry Cam to watch him squirm throughout this game. Minnesota Vikings on the road against the L.A. Chargers. Vikings -2. On the road.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook's back. The Chargers, I just don't see it. Give me Minnesota.
A late pick 6 changes this game. Chargers with the upset in this one. Chargers +2 at home. Give me that. And then that brings us to the Monday night game. The Colts on the road against the Saints. The Saints laying 9.5. Peculiar line.
Yeah, it's a pretty big line. I still like the Colts, but they've really kind of fallen off. I don't know if T.Y. Hilton's going to be back. Oh, at home, give me the Saints.
Yeah, give me the Saints to cover at home. So that brings us to it's a 5-star matchup. Neither Alex and I are playing in it. But the Steelers obviously are. It's going to be must-see TV, obviously, Sunday night. I really am looking forward to this kind of litmus test, really for both teams, to be honest with you. Find out which team is what. Currently, the Steelers are home favorites by 1.5 points.
Basically a pick 'em. This one's so tough for me. This is one of the hardest games I've had to pick all year for Pittsburgh because they are so evenly matched, because they have similar play styles and identities, really top to bottom. I'm going Pittsburgh in this one because it's at home, it's prime time, and they're in their color rush uni. So I got Pittsburgh 20, Buffalo 17. Think this will be a low-scoring game. Pittsburgh squeaks it out.
I don't know which way to go on this as well. I expect it to be a close game. I think the color rush unis are going to be the difference.
That's basically what I said.
After all that breakdown that we did, our analysis is the color rush. No, I'm obviously not that simple-minded. Well, I am simple-minded, just not that simple-minded. They're not going to cover this one, Alex. They're not going to cover this one. However, they will win it.
So one other 1 point game?
17-16. We took a little trip.
You had a 1 point game last week. You get all these squeakers here for Pittsburgh.
I think it might be one of them oddball 17s for the Steelers as well too.
In what sense of an oddball?
I think you get a couple of field goals, a couple of 3 field goals, and then
missed extra point.
Something like that, a 2 point or something along those lines. It's gonna get 17 the hard way.
It's one of those where you got to take your shoes off to get to 17.
It's going to be 7. Who knows? Maybe a Zach Banner 2 point conversion plays a role.
Oh my
role in this one as well. That's extremely calling your shot. Look, should be a good game. I'm not expecting the over under on this is 35.5. Man, that's low.
So you're at the under, and I'm just barely on the over.
Right. So definitely should be a tight ball game, and going to be even more interesting. You don't have Connor or JuJu in this one as well, but I think we lined it out pretty well. I think if we're talking about a Steelers win or a loss, regardless, I think we're talking about, man, if only that turnover played a big part in it, or boy, that team just ran the football a little bit better than the other team. I really think that's what it comes down to. I agree. All right, what else do we have? I think that's it, right? Or
couple reader emails. We're getting a little long on time here, so give maybe 2-3 reader emails.
James Smith writes in, Bud Dupree, hey guys, first time writer, long time listener. I want to start off with saying how fantastic job you and your team does on a weekly basis. Never miss a show and visit the site a couple times a day. In regards to Dupree's contract, you guys have spoken about it. About how it will be difficult to keep him given his salary and our cap. A thought that I had and wanted your opinion on at this point: who do you see more valuable to the team? JuJu or Bud Dupree? I'm starting to feel like keeping this defense together and finding ourselves another wide receiver might be the better option. Let me know your thoughts. Oh, man, that's the answer would be yes to that. Who is the more important one to look? You can extend both. I mean, if push comes to shove, and we've laid out ways to how that could happen. Who would you rather have? I mean, JuJu's a younger player.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy we're even having a difficult discussion compared to where it would have been 6 months ago. I still lean JuJu. As much as I love Dupree, I think JuJu, when you've seen him at his best, has just been unbelievable. But again, I don't think it has to be an either-or thing. I guess the question is, does JuJu get extended this offseason? It kind of feels like that's probably not going to happen because everyone else you got to take care of.
Well, then you're running up against having to use the tag on him.
Yeah, because he'll be a free agent after next season, right?
Right.
Or
you can look at it this way, man. We can get him at a hell of a bargain.
But he knows that too, so he might just say, I'm not going to take a discount. I'm going to bounce back and cash in after this year. It's probably the smarter play for him because he's fine financially. He's got all these sponsors and stuff. He doesn't need the money today. So, yeah.
Him and Connor are going to be ones going to be interesting conversations on do you extend them?
I think Connor's less interesting for how things have gone health-wise for him and his long-term outlook. I don't think you do him at all this offseason. Maybe next year if things turn up, but even then, maybe not. But yeah, I think the point is that it doesn't have to be an either or, just to be clear on that.
Boy, recency bias sure does play a role in this, right? A year ago,
6 months ago,
yeah, definitely. Good question. Daryl Munden writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, from Newport News here. Tomlin area. Blaze the Chef on Twitter. Longtime listener since 2011, second time emailer 2012. So you stated that the weaker side of the ball is going to have to step up and win a game for the team. Could the side of the ball come from special teams? Deontay Johnson is a special guy, and I believe he could house another one to send us over the top. Love the work you guys do. Now you just have to get Alex and those Tomlin pressers to ask the hard questions. Look, I'm not opposed to maybe that one game, coming from a splash play. I think that splash play would obviously have to be a touchdown on special teams to turn the tide. I got a funny feeling, Daryl, that you just go. Who knows? Maybe the playoffs start this week, and you need the offense to go out there and score 28, 29 for you this week. History just says that you're going to need that other side of football to do the work. I'm not opposed to it being special teams. Can I envision Deontay or even Kareth White housing one between now and whenever? I think it's possible.
Well, kick return, I think, is a whole lot harder than punt return, partially because Johnson just did it last week. I agree in principle. Yeah, you can't ignore the element of special teams, especially if weather's going to be a factor. What team can handle an operation and a field goal and a snap and a hold better than if weather's going to be a problem? What kicker can do better in the elements, especially at Heinz Field, where you're kicking the open end of that stadium. The thing I might call my shot on is the Steelers getting a pump block. They rushed it hard last week. I think Danny Smith's kind of turning up the heat with those guys, and I think if you're going to create a new splash play, I think you might get a pump block this week.
Connor Dietrich writes in, hey guys, with JuJu reportedly not playing on Sunday, has me wondering if Trey White typically shadows the other team's best receiver. If so, do you guys think he'll be following Washington or Johnson more? Am I wrong to think whoever he is covering will be pretty much a non-factor? Look, there's going to be a lot of non-factor wide receivers probably in this game. Might be in for a major run-heavy game. Yeah, Alex and I agree, going to be a run-heavy game on this. I think Tre'Davious normally stays on that left side.
I think it just depends. I think he shadowed before. I think sometimes he stays on side, just depending on kind of what the opponent's offering. I don't think he shadowed this week.
Yeah, I don't see the huge need in it. To be honest with you there. Here's one thing. I think they're going to go after Devlin in this game. I think they want to try to not even give him an opportunity to go down the field. I think if they get him in some third, in some passing situations, they're going to go. I think they're going to send some numbers after him. See if he can make plays out of the pocket or get rid of football out, or as you said, make sure you have the right guy identifying something.
Yeah. I think the punt rush sheet's been turned up, so we'll see if they get something this Sunday.
No, I'm talking about the blitz.
I'm sorry. I was reading about Eli Manning.
Numbers after Hodges and stuff like that.
Yeah. Because if you go empty, they're gonna get after you. So yeah, we'll see what they do.
Eric Schaefer writes in, Defensive Player of the Year. Who are the top 5 players in the running, in your opinion, for Defensive Player of the Year? In that same vein, who is in the running for Rookie Defensive Player of the Year? Alex?
I don't have a list. I mean, the rookie would be Nick Bosa versus Devin Bush versus maybe Devin White. I know he's been hampered by injury. He's kind of come on strong in recent weeks. For overall Defensive Player of the Year, I think you had a tweet about the odds for the top 10 or whatever. Watt, Stephon Gilmore. I think Shaq Barrett should be in that conversation. Duke's leading the league in sacks.
My boy Shaq Barrett. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having just phenomenal. The dude's going to get paid this offseason. So, but for me, though, Watt and Minka, those guys are as worthy as anybody, and I really think Watt's got a legitimate chance to win the award, and he deserves it.
I do as well, too. Stephon Gilmore, how many times, here's the thing about Stephon Gilmore, is he, unfortunately for him, he's so damn good that they don't throw at him.
It's a Dom Diosmo problem.
Right, so.
How many picks does he have this year?
Not many, I don't think, right? 2, 3?
I can look. So that would be the issue there. Just from a statistical standpoint, it's not attractive. He's got 4, which is pretty good. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's probably going to come down to, I think, Gilmore versus Watt versus, that might be the 2, maybe Barrett.
Gilmore just not going to be sexy enough, I don't think, to win, even though he's got the lowest odds. Aaron Donald's always in the talk, but has Aaron Donald had an Aaron Donald season? I know it sounds kind of funny a question to ask, but it just doesn't seem.
He had 11.
Yeah,
I hear you. 20.5 last year. So
Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter's underrated superstar, so that's a good name. Again, I think Watt can go toe to toe with any of those names.
Minka is 5th overall in odds. I think his downfall is going to be that, once again, secondary guys just usually don't bode well in this.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually guys closer to the quarterback. I think it comes down to Donald, Watt, Bosa, or Barrett.
All right, that's fair, and I think Watt's got as good a shot as any of those names.
I think he does as well too, boy. Especially if he has a big game. And look, him going against Ford Sunday night. This sets up for a 3-sack night. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. That way I cover my butt if he doesn't. Let's see. Bryce writes back in, 5-star slobber knocker. Can't wait. Some thoughts and questions. Since Terrell Evans was very, 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 very raw coming out of college, I could see his Steelers trajectory being almost like Bud Dupree, an athlete who checked all the boxes, but it's going to take a lot more time to hopefully come into his own. Of course, we don't want to wait that long, and by the time he blossoms, it'll be time to pay Minka, so he may be a one-contract guy, but I think he's a Bud Dupree type player in terms of development. Your thoughts? Look, we just got to come ask us after Terrell Evans makes a few plays.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I think that's important perspective that Dupree's shown us, that some guys it takes longer for them to kind of hit their reach their potential. And Edmonds is a young guy that's 22 years old. Last year was supposed to be a senior in college, so this year really should be kind of rookie in the NFL based on him coming out early. So I understand all that, but then I look at the guy across it from him, second year guy that played around all the positions in Miami and was in a bad spot there, and where he's at in his career, and that's tough to ignore. So understood, and Edmonds has not been bad. I think it has been improvement. I just, based off if you saw the camp that he had, and that really strong camp, you would have really been excited about him making a huge jump in year 2, and I just haven't seen it. Is he a bust? No. Has it been underwhelming? It has.
As we've talked several times, much better closer to the line of scrimmage. You're going to have a chance to play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, one would think, Sunday night. Mm-hmm. How about a forced fumble? Damn it. How about a forced fumble Sunday night for Terrell Evans?
He's got one in his career, one takeaway in his career.
Can that be my bold prediction, a Terrell Evans forced fumble?
I like it. I hope so, but history's not on your side.
Yeah. Don't tell me about. I'm tired of looking at these labor pains. Show me the baby.
And the guy's young, but he's played a lot. This guy's played almost 2,000 career snaps. I mean, this guy's played a lot of football. So I think the experience in the youth thing, it's a factor, but it's becoming less and less of an excuse over time.
Should the Steelers offense be a team that primarily uses a bunch personnel groupings to get this wide receiver loose against coverage? I do see them running bunch, but not nearly enough compared to the skill set talent of wide receivers. Look, you got so many different kind of younger kids in there right now, and yeah, they know their roles, and can you get creative and do some more fades out of that? Can you get creative and run some switches out of that? Yeah. I mean, I'm not overly alarmed by what we're seeing as far as amount wise goes.
Yeah, I mean, I point taken, but I think the receivers are just doing well on their own, and I'm sure there are limitations with bunch in terms of the route concepts you can use and the spacing issues. So, too much of a good thing can probably have some unintended consequences. So I've been okay with that stuff.
Who is the weak link on the Bills' defense you think the Steelers should exploit?
Man, that defense has been good. I mean, the run defense as a whole is something we've talked about. I mean, do you go after Matt Milano, the other sub-package linebacker next to Edmonds? I know their edge play isn't as strong with Shaq Lawson. He's got like 5 sacks this year. I don't know if there's a name. I mean, maybe the corner opposite of White. I'm losing the name on him, but yeah, don't throw to Trey White. Throw away from Trey White this weekend.
We haven't mentioned much about Jerry Hughes either, but he can really get after. He's been getting after it as well too. Whoever plays on looking at the back of their defense on their right defensive end.
All right, there you go.
The run at that way. I think we're going to be talking a lot about that. Who else? Let's see what else we got here. Heath Stark, Rosie Nix. Hey, guys, love him, but Connor, Snell, Samuels, and Wyatt are the real deal in the team's eyes. Anyway, they move on from him or a traditional fullback role in general, the way the NFL is trending. The NFL's actually trended to putting them big uglies back out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to get rid of Roosevelt Nix, Heath. Man, the guy had an injury this year, and look, when healthy or when on the field, he wasn't great. I really think that knee played a lot into that. But man, no way am I ready to move on from Roosevelt Nix just yet. Alex Kozora, The Bachelor, would make a fantastic reality viewing experience. Let's make it happen. Best Steelers pod ever. Heath, thank you for that, Heath.
I'm no Pilot Pete, so I don't think they're going to take me. I don't think they want a 5'6" Bachelor on the show.
If sacks weren't recorded until 1982, how are the 1974 Steelers measured as leading the league in sacks and takeaways? Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams keeping track of that. Is it similar to what you mentioned in Wednesday's broadcast about adding new measurable and going back and watching old film to recognize past efforts? Well, the problem is, where do you draw the line? And how and can you indeed get can you get every game's footage back to the Super Bowl era in 1966? I sure would like to be locked in. Nobody would see. No, not even my wife. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. That's it. I'd had this big, long, flowing beard. And, I'm already unkept. My hygiene isn't the best already now. Can you imagine getting locked in that? Justin, I don't know how you do it, man. I know a lot of teams keep their own stats and all like that, and that's how a lot of that stuff you're going to have to go on.
Mm-hmm. I was going to bring it up because that's a good point. But remember, we're talking about sacks as an official stat. I mean, Joe Green has unofficially 78.5 career sacks based on what the team recorded or however they did it back then. So there are unofficial numbers, but 82 is just whenever it became an official stat that was, I think, tracked by the league and not by just teams in a more haphazard process.
Alex seems to be getting a ton of love and a little disdain from the Steelers roster these recent weeks. What has been your favorite Twitter interaction / retweet?
Oh, wow. I was happy with the Joe Hayden one just because it always feels good to know that you're right. When I did that breakdown about the two plays, you never know that you're right. You just, you take your best guess based on the evidence. So to kind of hear that confirmation was nice. And then Zach Banner calling me out. Zach Banner has no chill. He will call out Mike Tomlin. He will call out Duck Hodges. He will call out me. So that I got a laugh out of that one. And for those who are concerned, I followed Zach Banner back, so we're all good.
All right, number 3, do you ever share internet traffic data? No. Just curious how Steelers Nation reacts on Victory Monday as opposed to now I have to avoid all sports articles this week Monday. Look, I mean, we've gone up and we continue to set records on the site, I'll tell you that. And it wouldn't be that way without all the great help and Alex and all the great SteelersDepot.com contributors and all like that. The podcast has obviously grown every year as well, too. We've had a couple of Mondays even earlier this year where we're kind of looking like, I don't know, right?
Well, I just answer the question very broadly. I know that for most places, the bad news sells. You watch the news, 6 o'clock news, it's always about the bad news. That's what gets ratings. It's the opposite, at least for Steeler fans, I imagine for most sports teams. Whenever the team does well, people come to the site. And I'm the same way. When the team loses, I don't want to do it. I don't want to read about my team losing. I don't want to see highlights of my team losing. So usually, things are better when this team wins and is successful as opposed to losing.
E. Allen writes in, hey, David and Alex, I know the season isn't over yet, but who is your choice for MVP? I guess defensive MVP. If you had to pick one, I guess it's the Steelers MVP. His is Watt or Minka. Love the show, never miss it. It's hard not to be Watt. I mean, no disrespect to Minka whatsoever, but I think it's hard for it not to be T.J. Watt.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back and forth. There are no bad answers here. You could throw in Cam Hayward, too. You could throw in maybe Hayden or Steven Nelson, even. Hayden's making a case lately. But, man, I'll play devil's advocate and say Minka just because, could you have lived with an average level replacement linebacker at outside linebacker or at safety? Basically, who would you rather have to start? You had to choose one guy to start over the course of the season. Cam Kelly or Anthony Chickillo? Or Ola Adaney, I'll give you.
Say again?
Okay, let's assume you didn't have – what would hurt this team more? Basically having to start Chickillo or Adaney in place of Watt or having to start Cam Kelly in place of Minka /
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I look at that and say I think having Cam Kelly would hurt you more because they lack a splash plays, giving up more big plays, schematics, how that would change the whole structure of the defense. And so
So you're trying to take the literal value. Who's the most valuable?
It literally is in the word, man. Most valuable player, and so I think in that sense, I would actually kind of lean Minka. But I mean, Watt's been fantastic.
Yeah, as you said, there's probably not a wrong answer right now when it comes.
Unless you choose someone on offense, because then you're wrong.
I want to make sure I get this one in from Heather Blair because I think she follows both of us on Twitter. She's been a long time listener as well too. She says, "I'm listening to the Wednesday podcast and need to tell you both how good you are at your job." Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
The quality of the game tape breakdowns is incredible. Look, Alex and Heather, we thrive for burying our heads in tape. I mean, that is the joy of what we do more than anything, I think. I want to be able to watch the game like a coach. I want to be able to watch the game like a coach would, and learning from you two of you is really helping me enjoy the game at a whole new. That's the thing I think, Heather, that people miss out on, man. And it might make you become a little bit less of a fan in the process, but man, watching the sausage be made really it makes you understand and appreciate some things that go on. It makes you see sometimes how some of these overreactions on a week-to-week play-by-play basis are just incredible. So there's no, Heather, appreciate the comment. There, no better thing than I'm sure I speak for Alex than burying our heads in the tape there for a full day. And we're nowhere close to where we want to be. I make all mistakes all the time in trying to decipher some of these coverages and things like that. So constantly, incredibly trying to learn more and more.
Yeah, I echo those thoughts all the way. It's a pleasure, it's a joy, and I can't wait to see where this team goes the rest of the year.
And I hope that shows in the podcast, just our overall, how much we look forward to every show and kind of breaking the stuff down and discussing things and trying to be as objective as possible when it comes to the team. But have a little bit of, look, we're both fans, as well. That's the root of the whole thing here. We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't fans first there. She goes on to write, also, I'll be a Jesse James fan for life. I want him back really badly in 2020. Just had to throw that one out there. Hey, Heather, I wouldn't be, we talked about it. I wouldn't be stunned if that happened.
With Jesse James?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we talked about that on a recent podcast a couple episodes ago. Yeah, I would not be stunned either. I think the Steelers would like to have him back. I think they wanted to bring him back last year, just obviously money-wise, they just weren't able to swing it.
All right, Arthur, all you other people out here that got emails in the box, thank you. We've run incredibly way too long, and it's partly because of me spending more time on the cap and Bud Dupree, so I apologize about that. Alex, good job. Alex, let's talk about a win Monday. How about that?
Mm-hmm. Here.
In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Do you like what we do? Do we need to set up some sort of nonprofit organization for Alex film watching endeavors to maybe get him some of these films on Google Play or whatnot? Lord have mercy, killing me week in and week out. Regardless, look, if you like what we do, if you think we're good at what we do and you want to pay us back, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. You can also get a ad-free version of the site for $25 for a calendar year. Go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button up there. A lot of people take care. I think we get one or two of those a week still. We certainly do appreciate. Look, we appreciate all the support that we get, even if you don't donate to the site or whatnot, even if if you send an email or whatnot. If you listen, you go to the site. Thank you. It means a lot to Alex and myself. So with that, in the meantime, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.